All right. So this event's over. Should we talk about the next major already, or you guys heard any rumors?
Blast Fall Finals.
Vitality win it.
All right. So we're doing predictions. We're talking about Blast Fall Finals, and look. We got Maui here replacing Mr. Jason Moses O'Toole.
Thanks for
Somewhere
having
in
me.
the air, Jason. Well, fly safe, buddy.
We needed someone with an M, so it made sense.
American, also.
That actually true, right?
Yeah.
There's a few more similarities than we thought here.
I was bald earlier this year.
Yeah, you did. You did shave your head. You didn't go the full skinhead look.
Also lives close
One
to a
rate.
body of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Okay.
clipper. Yeah.
All right.
That's how I was doing it.
The number one. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, look, I do want to talk a little bit about the close of the year, gentlemen, because we have water. We're not really cheersing with alcohol right now. Last night was.
Last night we did. That's
yeah.
why we're drinking water today. Stay hydrated, boys.
Just stay healthy.
It was a
This
good
is
night
recovery
last night.
mode.
But it was a good night last night, right? This has been like a marathon of an event. Like, what do we have? 2.5 weeks of this.
Yeah.
It's a fucking long one.
It felt extra long because the entire Challenger Legend stage, our ears are just getting reamed by the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. There was non-stop, right? I think I forget about that. And that stage right there was really good. I think once we got here towards this tail end, we're going to talk about this a bit more. But I do want to kind of bait people in to the start of this podcast, right? So, let's see. YNk, are you done for the year now?
Yes.
So
I
we're
think
just going to do more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
That's
and me
cool.
are done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. And like in terms of that, I think I'm going to go back to Oz. You got any holiday plans?
Well, I'm going to the U.S. for 10 days, I guess,
Sure.
so maybe a bit less right after this. Not yet, but I do plan to take advantage of this time. Like, I don't want to be in Belgrade for New Year's. It's just a mess. You have people, who live abroad.
Fucking Australians.
Just come to Belgrade, right? So it's
Do
filled
Australians
with.
really
I don't know.
go to
No,
Belgrade?
I mean, Serbians living in whatever.
Oh, coming back
Different
home.
countries, yeah, they're coming for the holidays back,
I
right?
see.
But it's also people who come to Belgrade just to party for New Year's,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like way too many people,
Yeah.
traffic everywhere, all the places are super busy, and it's just not really fun
Right.
to be there at that time.
Do you have a Thanksgiving equivalent?
No, we have this thing that's called a slava.
Uh-huh.
So that's basically another excuse for us to drink and eat excessively. So what it is you have your saint, St. George, St. Michael, whatever. So
Yeah.
each family sort of has their own patron saint, and there's a day of this, like St. Michael's Day or whatever, St. Patrick's Day, right? So when it's your saint's day, you kind of create, you make dinner. Well, basically it's like a mini feast that you do, and you invite people. Or, well, technically you're not supposed to invite people. That's the saying. It's like you don't invite people to a slava. People are just supposed to come over, right? But that's
Yeah,
that's saying.
that's kinda hard to
so you
coordinate.
invite your friends and family. Sometimes they also traditionally it's celebrated for 3 days.
Oh wow.
But also, from people who are really into it, and for the big ones, like you have people coming on the first day, then you have people coming on the second day, and so on and so on.
And
And
like
I don't
Jam
even know
coming
why we
every
started
day.
talking about it. Yeah, you asked me about Thanksgiving, so
Yeah.
Saint James.
Well, I learned something today. I didn't know that was the case.
That's cool.
In Australia, we don't really have anything.
You don't have things. Oh yeah. You wouldn't have.
And this is
Thanksgiving.
something that, okay, we're Orthodox Christian, we're not Catholic, but this is something that only Serbia has or does. The Greeks don't do this, Russians, Ukrainians don't do this, right? Other Orthodox
Yeah.
churches don't really have this. So
I mostly brought it up just because I feel like for big cities, people leave the big cities for the Thanksgiving equivalent,
Yeah.
but they come to the big city for the New Year's celebration.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, like the more party type areas, right? Like people
Yeah.
go like New York and shit for New Year's and everything like that.
That's exactly what I was
yeah.
thinking.
Okay. Look, man, what do you got? You doing Blast?
No, I've got nothing left. For
So
the
you're
rest
done
of
as
the year.
well?
I got Last Free Nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So doing some more content.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun to be able to spend a bit more time on this, right? Because when we're traveling and going to events and stuff, like we're very bare bones with this still. I think what is this episode 18, right? So we're going to be working
Oh,
on a
yeah,
few things or
shit.
two.
All right,
So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
18.
I've got a vacation coming up though.
Where you going?
I'm going to Japan.
Oh shit!
In January.
Yeah, they reopened, right?
Yeah, they reopened.
Nice.
So I'm going to
That's
go with
it.
my parents. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
a good shout.
Yeah.
Tokyo or?
Always Tokyo. Almost always Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be like my 6th time going there.
I remember we've spoken about this a bit. I went once. I think I went just before COVID kicked off, and I went for New Year's, and I didn't realize that going to Japan for New Year's was a terrible idea because that's their equivalent of like Christmas. That's their family time because they don't really celebrate Christmas.
It's
And
fun. I've gone for I've gone for New Year's before.
I guess it's just me being too much of a normie tourist. I couldn't pull anything fun off.
Oh, you just got to know where to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
that's my problem first time. Maybe when I go
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, last New Year's before COVID, I was in Brazil.
Oh,
I had
shit.
a great time.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that. You guys came back? Like it wasn't. We weren't here for an event.
No,
right?
no. We came to Sao Paulo, YNk first for like 2-3 days right after Christmas. Stayed at Cold's place, right? And then we went to Maceió. It's up north. It's on the coast.
Okay.
Right, and in Brazil, New Year's are like mostly like festivals almost, right? Like mini, that sort of a thing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was like crazy. People here just have, people are so really positive vibes, like cool vibes and all.
It's the weather, man.
I know I'm gonna have the fucking people now like in the comments, but day to day people are just really positive. I said this, like Serbians and Brazilians are pretty similar. I feel like in that regard, like we want to have fun and enjoy life or whatever. The difference is like Brazil was never in like a fucking war or anything like that when you think about it, right? Like, so you don't have that sort of bad experiences throughout your history as a nation, really, to have to worry about that shit basically. So you're just like kind of trying
other places
living life.
Other places like to have fun and enjoy life.
Yeah.
Is that just the one connecting factor though between Brazil and Serbia?
I think I get what he means.
We're also both sick at football. What?
Yeah, is that true? Come on now. That
I don't
sounds
know,
like
man.
a stretch.
I'm pandering to
I feel like
normal
they have
people who like football. I don't like football.
just similar economic status in the world rankings kind of thing too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No rainforest.
Same number of people too.
No, look. So I don't want to start with some.
Shit, no one's taking notes. We're fucked. No one's gonna watch
That's
this.
fine. I'll fucking mate. We got a 12-hour flight coming up. I'm sure I could work something out. There won't be timestamps to kick it off. Actually, I'll be in the airport. We have to leave at like 6 p.m. I don't know what time you boys have to leave. I have
Same.
to
6.
Yeah. So
We're on the same flight, me and Maui.
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's nice.
We're on H-Town.
You guys up on the busy?
I am.
I'm not.
Ah.
I gotta check in.
Right. I tried to check in last night, dude. I can only get a middle seat. So then I didn't bother checking in.
Oh, let's move on. This is just making me think of things I have to do after this. Okay.
So it's kind of miserable in that regard. But look, there was a couple of rumors around this event, boys. Now I don't have anything confirmed sources, but I want to get out ahead of stuff because what happens? People hate me for some reason, which is fine. But like people will come out and go, "Sponge was fucking wrong. He said this." But the fortunate nature with things is the news changes and information changes. So like a big discussion I think that's been had around Blast, the next major, as we all know, was this language situation. I've heard some murmurs, right? I don't have any official sources, right? But it's just what I've been hearing around the traps around here from certain people that Blast are working on trying to make sure it can be English inside that arena.
I've heard the same.
Yeah, and we know that there's this whole scenario going on with the law, but at the same time, I got no fucking idea. I saw conflicting reports online of what could be possible. So if they can get it to be English in the arena, we've already seen what like Western Europe is like in terms of like Antwerp, Stockholm. If we get English in, that would like I know the French, they like to protect their language, and I respect that. But if it can be in English, then we can get a broader range of fans coming.
I feel like I'm going to say a lot of moronic stuff this podcast because my brain just isn't functioning as much.
Drink some more water.
But it's like the French and like that thing, like it has to be French inside. So, can you hold a concert in France? Like what are you supposed to do? Sing in French?
I think that's different.
It's just
though,
sporting
right?
events, I think, and they consider it more like a sport for.
Why don't we just tweet at Macron? He was really high on gaming.
See,
right? Like just get him fucking sorted out.
See, that's why I think that it has some likelihood that it could be in English, just because if Macron wants to push for other people to come there and make it an esports spot, he does have to give up the fact that not everybody wants to go and listen to a French cast.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a little bit different, right? Like, obviously here we had it in Portuguese, but that's a different conversation. I saw what happened last night, the clip of when me and Alex's voice went out during the final to the crowd. And Alex, because we didn't know, right? We had, like, people sitting in front of us. So
I turned around right away and looked at you guys.
Yeah, and I took the earpiece off and I was like, oh, shit, we're out here. And it kind of, like, catches you off guard because it's a different type of cast. Like, when you're casting with the arena in the background or you're casting to an arena, it's different. So that's why I was like, hey, hold up. Can you hear me? All right. And I saw people like obviously take that out of context because there was no reply. I'm sure they weren't expecting to be able to hear us.
Happened to us on the desk for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds as well.
Yeah, it happened during the challenger stage a little bit, just kind of randomly.
Yeah,
It
randomly.
just randomly happened a little bit.
But Trace got a reaction. I think
Yeah,
he said
did.
something. He definitely got a reaction. So I guess like they just got caught off guard by the fact it was Alex and my voice and not Goles and his guys. So yeah, that was entertaining in itself. But yeah, so this factor of I'm hearing good things potentially. So I don't want to confirm anything. I can't confirm anything, but maybe, just maybe, because Blast haven't said anything, and I don't think they're selling tickets yet either. So they probably want to work out what that situation is before they start selling tickets, so everybody knows what they're buying.
Right.
But yeah, that's a positive piece of news. And the other piece, a bit more of the rumors. hearing that. Oh, I think it's been spoken about before. But Perfect World doing the second major of the year, and as we'd all probably assume, it would be in conjunction with PGL. They've worked together previously. But in China, like, it's still very difficult to get there, right? We were meant to go to China for the end of the year here for an IEM, but that got canned. Yeah. And this is, I think, look, I don't know the fucking geopolitics of what's going on in China right now with the COVID stuff, but from what I'm told, they're still trying to have a zero COVID policy. So that kind of makes it a bit difficult. And if that continues, it's late next year, right? It's late next year, but you have to make these decisions at least 6 months in advance, right? At least 6 months in advance. So I would imagine, based off of where TI was this year, which, as people know, PGL run the production side of things for Valve at the TI, I would imagine that they would run the next CSGO major, if they can't do it in China, in Singapore.
Yes.
Which is cool. Singapore's a cool place.
That'd be cool. I'd like to check out Singapore. I say that as if I'm going to be there.
Well, look, actually, you weren't there last time, right? Yeah.
But
well, maybe we can take this on the road and we can do it. You know, come on down. We'll go to the major.
It is going to be weird to go back to do it like not in person.
Right.
It's going to be strange talking over.
It's going to get worse.
Stuff, yeah.
It's going to fall off.
What, the podcast?
Yeah.
I hope so. You know, we've got too many things to do as it is.
Lanta Online, it's going to be like watching Flusha and JW.
Well, that's why we don't do video. That's why we just do TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're working it out. We're working on some methods. We're trying to continue to well, people want video. And we're like, I don't think we're adamant, but but it's just an audio only podcast. Like, some people really want to digest that content.
I mean, I personally like video.
Yeah, you like seeing people squirm?
I like reactions here and there. It's not like I usually watch it the whole time.
Yeah.
But if something funny happens, I want to see the guys that I'm listening to, or women, react.
Yeah, well, most podcasts now, most podcasts have covering his bases. He's covering all his bases. Most of the podcasts now, like all the big ones,
worms.
Those as well. They all have like a video element, right? Like all the ones that I listen to them audio only, but there's always a video option.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe one day when we get a budget.
Just nice to have that option.
Yeah, okay. We like options around here. Now, what was the other thing that I heard that I wanted to bring up today? So we spoke about Blast, spoke about Perfect World PGO. What was the other thing I thought was? Maybe it'll come to me. It might come to me. It might come to me a little bit later.
About future stuff?
Yeah. I don't know what I heard.
Fall, global?
No, nothing like that. None of those. Like, this tail end of the year is going to be weird, right? Based off of what just happened to this major. That's, I guess, probably the conversation we should get into right now, because it was the grand final that only Yanko expected. Apparently, yeah.
That was your best call yet, Yanko. Think that's
probably, yeah. In a while, yeah.
Might be recency bias, but it might be your best ever.
What would your best ever be? Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was a couple like that, where a team was flying under the radar, and I predicted them having a good run. Malmo 2016, NIP beating Navi.
Okay. Well, we're going back 6 years ago. Fuck, no. We've been doing this for a while.
That was one where, like, Duncan was like calling me out, I believe, on the desk. He's like, "You're pandering. You've lost it. Like, like you've fallen to the pandering side as well." I'm like, man, no.
Yeah.
And I think the NIP won like 2-0 or something, 2-1. It was a close series.
Did you say like you will never understand to him?
No, I didn't. But I love Duncan because it's like in the Stockholm major when we were doing something, it was an Astralis game versus someone, and I did this thing where I'm like, it's obvious like Astralis is the underdog, but you're trying to like kind of, you're not going to just present it at the desk at the major like, oh, these guys are shit, they're going to get owned, right? Like, so I'm making points like, yeah, but, it could click for them. Like if they get like a nuke or an Inferno and like they feel it. And Duncan is like, wow, actually, like you made me think now. and then he was saying in the postgame they got crushed, of course. It was like, you had me, like, you did me in.
So that's half the fun of it, though, right? Trying to make that sale. I think that's the same thing as like with NIP at the moment. It's like, yeah, okay, you can try and make that sale, and then maybe if it pays off, it's like, yeah, you were right. But at the same time, that's why when we do these podcasts, it's a little bit more, I don't want to say realistic, but it's a little bit more raw, right, in that regard. And it's, we can talk for longer, which actually, makes a very big difference when talking about these things. Who would have fucking thought?
It's also a bit surprising when people like tweet at you or say like, oh, I like this way better, or like it's such a different style compared to what you were doing at Pro League with like Kassad and whatnot. It's like, yeah, it's fucking major, it's like a different product than Pro League. Like Pro League supposed to be more laid back, and obviously the work environment for us is a bit
for
depressing. So it's like, here you're way more pumped, and the games and now everything's on the line, right? So it's a different sort of a vibe, different production, everything's different. So, this also in here, in the podcast, you're going to speak differently, and like, it's just different product, different vibes.
Yeah.
Pro League, you're trying to build a make them actually build a parasocial relationship with you.
Yeah.
Whereas at a major, you're actually focusing on the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Completely.
Yeah, because you like Pro League, no matter what happens, the games are always going to be there. Like we've got 3 games a day, best of 3s. You can tune in for that regardless. But the desk segments, right? If we did the desk segments the same way we did major desk segments, or like let's say Katowice or Cologne, it would grow old very quickly, right? And that's the thing. Like people are tuning into a Pro League more like a recurring television show each day than they are like fucking they're there for the event. It's 5 weeks, 6 weeks next year. It's fucking a long time.
6 weeks, Chad.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
All right, come on now. Are we the crowd? Is this a funeral? What's going on?
I'm just like, what? Hopefully, we do it from somewhere else.
Hopefully.
I mean, the desk, right?
We're working
Hopefully,
on it.
It's not even that we do it from somewhere else. Just put us all in the same place, wherever it is, right? Like,
throw everybody back in Katowice.
Yeah, even still, like I live in Malta. I'll come. It would be more fun. It'll be more fun if we're all together.
It's just better if everybody's together.
I mean,
get more insight.
Before we just dig into the final, right? Like you were saying about, last night, obviously, we all had a few drinks, kind of celebrate the end of the event. It was a exhausting event for us because it was games or content. Like there was no fully off day.
We started
right?
recording content the day after we got here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, some people even got in late, like the day before.
Yeah.
We didn't get, you and me, Chad, to see anything in Rio besides the arenas.
We went to the nice villa. The villa was nice.
Yeah, but that was the
where you were
content
working.
villa.
Yeah,
exactly, right?
a nice
but I mean,
view.
we didn't get to see any of the sites, which is like, I don't really care about that for this event also because, I know we're coming back next year.
Exactly right.
That helps, but...
Are we saying it's in Rio next year?
Well, even if it's not, it's Brazil, and we can try and do a bit more, sightseeing, I suppose. Okay. So
Did they say they're coming back to Brazil or
I think
Rio?
they just said Brazil.
Brazil.
Oh, well then, I'll just, even if it's somewhere else, I'll just stop by for 2 days. But yeah, the point being, like, it was great, having everyone together. We had lots of talent. We had a lot of, new people on the broadcast or, for us and then whatever, ESL.
It was a lot of people. It was like Katowice at the start of the year. We had so many more like bodies and, it was good. It was cool. But you're right. We did have a lot of moving parts, didn't we?
But yeah, it was, great to have like everyone together at the end of the event. Those moments are always like kind of special when everything gets done and you can just relax and decompress.
There was the unfortunate fact that some people weren't working the playoffs though, and so some people had left a little early, and some people knew that after the quarters they were done, so they'd leave then. And so it wasn't the big hurrah, let's sing Kumbaya now after the event and hold hands around the campfire. You don't like that?
We do it on the stage where we would have gone around in the circle. Everyone would have held hands, and we would have, champagne. I think they would have. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah. I think there's a few things, with that. It caught me off guard a little bit. The whole situation of the semis and the finals again. So it's curious. It was a little bit curious.
What are you referencing?
Yeah, we want to get into that. The teams or the
we're talking about talent and stuff, right?
Like how it was divvied.
Yeah, well, like I was under the impression it was going to be similar to what like the last 2 PGL majors were like, right? And then then it was a little bit different to that. But this is the thing, like.
It's usually, just to break it down for listeners, I think 4 pairs of casters, you usually have 7 total games in the playoffs. So one
and a show match.
Yes, yeah, that is there. So there's 4 that are everybody's gonna do a quarterfinals, and usually then the TO decides who do they want on their grand finals, and they're gonna put them there.
Yeah.
And then they take their number 2 and number 3 and give them both respective semis, and then the other guys, the other 2, would get a show match.
Yeah.
So,
but the thing is, that's only a precedent set by PGL in the last 2 majors.
That's true.
That wasn't the case in anything before, right? So that's why I think there was that expectation that that's how it was going to be. That's what I thought was going to happen.
But there's also like the fact that your voice will get wrecked if you work quarterfinal, then semi, then grand final. You're in a big arena. You're screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to maintain that physically.
I'm fortunate that I'm a color commentator and I don't have to scream a whole lot, right? Alex had no voice last time.
Was it the first time you had to cast in an arena where you didn't go in the arena?
I think Matt and I did one in China, where like a Shanghai event where I don't think we were in the arena. But that was probably the only time. And like I haven't done, I still like I did more arena casts at this one event than I think I've done in the history of the rest of my arena casts, right? Because a lot of my stuff was done in online casting. So, but like having those consistent days in the Challenger and the Legend stage, right? There was a whole lot more of that. But it wasn't, I didn't think it was jarring like at all because the whole thing with it was it's like you're casting with it. We're almost casting against the crowd because of like the bias in the Furia games, for example, right? That was one of the things that I know Alex and I had a conversation about after we finished our game, and I guess it was the same for Harry and Hugo with their matchup as well with the Na'Vi Furia game, is because I guess that was different because it was closer, it was a bit more whatnot. But when we did our Furia game, and it was a loss every time a big play would happen from the heroic guys, we have to send it, right? Because you got to do justice to the play and the round and what it means in the game, but the crowd isn't there for you to ride that. So you finish, like Alex finishes sending it, and then it's like dead silence, and it's like you feel like a bit of an idiot. But then that's why, like, when I come in and I'm like, no, like I come in and try and add the color to that of like what it means and stuff, and then hopefully for the viewer they still get that feeling. And I understand people at home, like I read some stuff like people saying, you know, they want the spectacle because it is a major, you know, it's not just the whole. But I think we've been spoiled. We got spoiled with like. We get spoiled with Katowice, we got spoiled with Cologne, we got spoiled with Stockholm, we got spoiled with Antwerp. They were all impartial crowds, right? Obviously, in Stockholm, they had the Swedish guys there, but they were still more impartial crowds than what we had here. Whereas this was such a big difference. And I think, like, this is why, and I know we were going to talk about this today at some point anyway, so fuck it, we may as well start getting into it, was, like, the reaction online, right? I've never seen anything like it in our community.
It's mental.
I've never seen anything like it. And look... the one angle that I can build of why they were having that reaction was because in the lead up, the way that the Brazilian people sold this major being here was the fact that we could fill out a football stadium.
There's one other thing that it was just constantly in the broadcast for the first few days. I don't know why it was being said. Is everybody said this is the biggest major of all time?
Yeah.
Under what metric was that statement made? I didn't get that.
It definitely has the most tickets sold of any major event.
Okay.
Right? And it definitely has the biggest in terms of live turnout across the course of the entire event. From like all of those metrics, that's the biggest, right? In terms of like viewership, obviously it didn't hit the mark. That has something to do with teams as well. Well, definitely not time zone because we had the game early here in local time. But it definitely had something to do with the quality of teams in terms of how many viewers we had in that final game. But tickets sold, there's no way any other event is even close. Like, not even close at all.
Okay.
It will have dwarfed anything else.
I can totally see that given what was going on in the fan experience and what was going on in the Legends and Challenger stage. There were a ton of people.
Yeah, and I think that this is where there's that disconnect from, this is where I look at it and I see, okay, so they have the initial ticket sales and it's bonkers. They sell out like quicker than anything that's ever been done. And then there's different parts to that. I don't know if we want to get into that or not, but that happens, right? That pops off. And then there's like the community outcry from, Brazilian players or Brazilians themselves. And the feedback ESL is getting, hey, look, we have so many fans. We're going to fill all this out. We need something bigger. So then ESL accommodate with this fan fest. They couldn't move the arena, right? Once you make deals with these places, it's not like you can just fucking pivot. It's not like you can just go, hey, I know we signed this contract and we said we'll be here, but hold up, we're just going to burn this shit and that's it, right? Like you, I don't think you can do that in business. I don't know. I've never signed a contract for a venue. I'm making some assumptions here.
It seems like with like concerts, what they'll do sometimes though is they'll announce future dates. They'll be like, or they'll do we're going to perform again 2 days from now
we can't
in the
really
same
do that
venue.
here.
Yeah, it doesn't really work for competition like that.
So when that happened, right, then they introduced the Fan Fest, and the Fan Fest was like this crazy amount of tickets. It was like a music festival. When I walked out there, I was like, okay, this reminds me of like music festivals, like terms of the size and the screens, setups and everything and all of that. And that was like a way to accommodate the overflow of fans who couldn't be in the arena.
Yeah.
It
was well put together.
Yeah.
It was like a concert.
And that's what eventually did come back to bite ESL in the arse a little bit, was like a combination of factors. Like people still had tickets from 2020, I believe. And here's the thing, this is where people will probably just go, well, why didn't they resell those tickets? And it's like, well, you can't force somebody to get a refund. Like if I bought something 2 years ago, right, and it's bought and I was going to go, and then what happens is they go, okay, sorry, it's not happening anymore. If you want a refund, you need to email this, you need to do this, we'll give you a refund. Yep. Some people, it's not worth the money to get the refund, right? So there's just tickets which are being assumed that people will come and be in those seats. And there's a portion of that. There's probably a portion of scalpers that happened as well, right? I would imagine. I did hear a little bit of dialogue from some of the Brazilians saying there were scalpers outside of the venue and whatnot. I can't verify any of this. I'm just using stuff that I was told. And then you got this fact of what you were saying on the desk, talking about the biggest major of all time. the conversation of, hey, we can fill out a football stadium, and then on top of that, the you'll never understand, right? Right?
That's the best line. That is something I'm going to take away forever.
That and come to Brazil,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The two of them
The
hand
two
in
lines.
hand. Yeah, they're
Right.
fantastic. But that in combination, right? Like there's a lot to think about there, and I get why maybe some people got their feckles up and were a little bit aggressive on the internet, but it didn't stop, man. It was non-stop. And
There's like there were like 5 threads on the front page of Reddit with like different things about the crowd. You have people like with the empty crowd shots, then with the like full crowd shots and whatnot. It's like, why do the people who are watching from home, so they're not there for the live experience, care so much about that? So I can understand that it's like probably feeling, inflamed by people advertising and the Brazilian fans saying it's going to be the biggest ever, we can fill a football stadium, and then it looks empty in some moments, right? So but even with that, it's just crazy. I made the tweets about it, and that really like bothered me. I'll get into it a little bit later, and I'm not the fucking beacon of positivity. Anyone who knows me knows this, right? But I'm trying to be better, Chad, every day,
all right,
bit by bit, right? And it just feels like there's so much, like, people were pouncing on that shit. It's just they're just waiting for something bad to happen, right? So they could be like, look, it's shit. We told you it was going to be shit. It's like, why are you wanting it to be shit? Right? Like, I have nothing against people giving criticism and saying things, but, get all the facts as well, right? Especially if you're a fucking journalist.
Yeah.
Maybe do your fucking job. I'm sorry, Maui, but, like, I have to get into it now. It's starting. Like, I'm going to use the little allergy I have.
Sure.
So,
here we go.
Right, there's a shot of players walking in, and like the seats there are empty. So I'll go on, and first, before all of this, go on record and say, for me, the thing like I felt for ESL about this event, for all the good that they've done, is also it felt like they were trying to do too many things at the same time, right? And that felt like because of that, some things weren't executed as well as they should be. Some things, there were some oversights, and some things weren't as thought out as probably they should have been, right, in various different departments. One of them being, okay, we're changing the stage and whatever, it's 360, but why are we setting the screens up, for example? So the reason is those people who are like closest to the stage actually had a hard, or those in the lower red seats, which are usually like some of the best seats if you're at a basketball game, for example, right? Like the screen is, how do you say it, like angled in a way where you're gonna hurt your neck. Gonna hurt your neck if you keep watching that way. So actually, the quote unquote nosebleeds and like the higher level was better.
Middle section seemed like the best viewing experience.
Yeah, so you would have people like cram into those areas like for some of the other games. So, and unfortunately during the broadcast and during the stream, those are the camera shots. Like those areas that are empty and that are not great for watching the game in the arena are the ones that are in a lot of these shots, player walk-ins, behind the desks, maybe some of these spider cam fly-throughs when you want to catch the players and catch the crowd, right? So there were moments, I don't know, let's say Outsiders Fnatic game where there was like, I don't know, let's say 8,000-9,000 people, right? But you would never be able to tell because the way the thing is being filled, you don't see a bunch of people who are up there. Then also,
the nosebleeds were pretty packed almost the entire time.
Exactly.
I was shocked.
And also it's like what, sextangle the arena almost, right? So the edges are also really bad. There's no like direct, the corners, there's no like direct screen for them, so it's like hard to watch the game. Those were empty in the Furia games.
Yeah,
right? Like
the corners were never
people would just go to the,
they try to flood the middles.
Yeah, for sure.
Or, there was more people there than you had seats.
Now look, you and I spoke about this in the green room, right? And maybe they'll get the green light for this to be public consumption at some point. But what I can say is that the way that the screens ended up was not how the screens were intentionally designed to be. And that right there obviously caused these issues. So the fact of the matter is what you're saying. So regardless of what was intended, what you're saying is what happened, and that is a reason of the cause of the issues that we have.
There's still more reasons.
Okay, here
right?
we go.
Like, this is what I hit, and then a ton of people just send me a screenshot of like, the Antwerp semifinal or Stockholm semifinal. So again,
I know.
You're comparing an event like Stockholm, for example, the first major and the first LAN with crowd, right? Like after 2 years almost.
Where people are gagging to get out and do something.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And you know, like there's a lot of storylines being built, there's a lot of hype, and also where all the matches are going at, it's like the perfect bracket.
Yes, the bracket is the main
right, like
thing.
so everything's going great, and you have great teams, and then people are like, yeah, but it's FaZe Spirit. Yeah, but it's still fucking FaZe.
It's FaZe.
Right? Like you know, Outsiders won. I love them. They play great CS, but no one cares about them. They're not popular. Like
They might now,
they
but
might
you're right.
be now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Maus as well. They play great CS. No one cares about them either. Right? Like they don't have big names, even though Vitality FaZe were playing worse CS. Right? They would have a lot of fans because of the history. So you have that. You have the fact that the event is in fucking Europe, you know, compared to Brazil, where obviously people from a lot of different places, it's cheaper to travel. It's expensive to come to Brazil if you're not. So you're kind of banking on the local crowd to be there, right? On top of all of that, you have a different sort of a stage, right? So a 360 stage is like, not that there's more seats that you need to fill, but also
It's like
visually when you're like,
yeah, logistically, it's just harder to put that together in a way that's going to work out where every seat is good, and so people are just going to gravitate to the seats that are better.
The thing is, in a 360 stage, the people are even more dispersed than usually, right?
Yeah.
So 10,000 people in a 360 stage is going to look emptier, not only because there's more seats to fill, but just like
it's more apparent when the camera is moving around that like you can't angle the camera to make it deceiving. Whereas
Yeah.
if
You can't
people,
hide it, yeah.
if people are just fanned out into a normal auditorium, you can almost just move the camera in certain ways that it's just going to be like more flush with
Yeah.
everybody, and you won't see the empty seats as easily.
And also, it goes without saying, Antwerp, Stockholm, the only way you could be a part of the major is to go to the arena and watch it there outside of maybe
Sure.
a viewing party at a pub or something like that. Right here, you obviously had the fan fest and the fan zone,
Yep.
and you know, I don't even want to get into Brazilians and whether they like, prefer listening to Gaules or not or whatever. It's just that they had different opportunities to do it,
Sure.
which is also naturally going to draw some people away from it. Now, I even tweeted this out, like even if with some of these other things in the signing sessions for Imperial and 00 Nation were going at the time or whatever, the arena might not, probably still wouldn't have been packed for, you know, the Maus Outsiders semi or some of the other games, right? Like that's fine, but it's to just show two pictures without
The context,
without the
yeah.
context, it's like disingenuous. And like for random people on the internet,
They don't give a
like
fuck.
it's fine, like
Yeah, yeah,
whoever.
yeah.
But if you're a journalist for the biggest outlet that we have, and like you're doing that just for the sake of like arguing with me or just, you know, to get some impressions on social media, this is what like everyone wants to be popular and famous. It's like, you know, in a sense, so anyone wants to be an edgelord and have hot takes. It's
yeah.
like, dude,
It's
understand what your job is, right? Like your job is to report accurately and whatever. I'm not gonna sit here
It's
and
just-
tell people
it's-
how to do their journalistic like jobs. I'm just saying
Right.
it's like you choose to build this narrative, right? Like if you do it that way, like you're pushing this to an extent, and as a member of the space, you want things to be better and bigger and succeed. You don't want to bring everything down. Again, I'm all down for criticism, constructive criticism. You can't get better without it, right? And there's definitely been mistakes, but this shit is just like, you know, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and it just like fucking annoys me when I see people like just compare it like that, and you're a part of this space and whatever, and I don't know, it just
the outrage mongering is just for clicks, it's just for likes, impressions. I mean, that's I think
and
a lot.
also, sorry, just one last thing. It's also like the picture at the start of the first fucking round. It's like even during the
Well, we
first
also
map,
had a
it's like you
40-minute
get.
tech timeout, so before we started, remember?
No, but that's the grand final. I'm talking about like the semifinal
Oh, okay,
or whatever.
okay.
You know, the first. It's like, you know, even during the first map, you got like 2-3 more thousand people
Yeah.
coming in as the game started, because when you have a fan fest that's fucking outside and people are doing things and you see, oh, the game is starting. I'm gonna go to the arena now, which is a 5-minute walk, and it's right there, and then it starts feeling out. It's like.
Apparently, the food was better in the fan area.
Oh, yeah,
there
it
were
was.
food trucks.
Food trucks,
So
yeah.
That was a massive deal for them.
The food trucks, yeah.
I mean,
No, it
no,
was.
no. During the organization of the event, the people were telling yourself you have to be careful which like food trucks you get, because people will get angry if you like bring the wrong
They
stuff.
compared it to the people you put on broadcast. That's what they said. They said that you need to be as selective.
I love
with the
this
food.
culture.
There you go, right? And I told that's
they're
why
picky about their food.
Well, remember during the challenger stage or the legend stage, I took you outside and I
Yeah.
said, like, check out all these food trucks. Did you try any?
I tried one. I didn't like it, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
I mean, it was like a kind of like a Philly cheesesteak presentation, but it was chicken hearts, and I'm okay with chicken hearts.
Holy shit!
But I was just like, this doesn't really work.
Okay.
In this format.
Okay.
So I didn't like it.
All right. Well, you gave it a go.
Yeah. I probably should have tried something different. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think
shout out to Pod the Casual one time.
Right. I think the catering was pretty decent at this. But beyond that, back to the being people that are not there that want to just get angry on the internet. I think that a lot of us were in a similar position for the fall finals last year when the Danish crowd was being where they were cheating. They were just saying to shoot and everything for Astralis. And but then actually experiencing it there in the arena, it didn't. Sometimes people will, spin around if it gets loud, but I actually can't say, and I watched all of the Fury games for certain that anybody shot a smoke that they wouldn't have shot at because of fan shouting. But at the fall finals, I did notice that actually. They did do it.
I have like anecdotal. Well, it's not. I spoke to players after that fall final who told me that they could hear the fans in the front row yelling to Astralis while they were playing as Astralis of which site that they were going to.
Yeah. See, that's a bit different.
Sick, right?
Now, it felt like it when you watched it,
right? But regardless, like I know Alex and I were somewhat critical of the crowd back then, but I think it's
okay. Wait, let me bring up the fact that Reddit post that people
I didn't even go to this shit.
Did you see this?
I've stayed off of actually going into. I've just read the headlines because I'm so scared right now.
2.4K upvotes, and it said machine telling the toxic crowd to shut up, and it was just during all of the outrage mongering on Reddit where people are complaining about the Brazilian crowd. They just posted the clip of Machine saying to the Danish crowd at the fall finals, hey, be nice, stop
That's
booing
when they
Shocks.
were booing Shocks.
Yes, when they were booing Shocks.
You weirdos.
And the top comment on it, because it's all happening at the same time, and someone just decided, hey, let me post an old clip.
Yeah.
The top comment with like 1,000 upvotes is saying that these Brazilian fans have no respect for Counter-Strike. And it's like this is not even the same event. That was when I literally just lost it this morning, and I was like, that is just despicable timing, and it's just purposely deceitful.
I'm glad I didn't go into that.
I don't know, is it like, was the point like kind of saying, why don't you do this shit now?
Oh, I mean,
we weren't going out to the arena.
If he wrote that in the title as opposed to just Machine tells toxic fans to shut up, then it would make sense. If he said, hey guys, this happened at the fall finals in Denmark, and you guys are all praising European crowds, then there's a discussion, but instead everybody just jumped on the fact that let's all hate the crowd here without even actually watching the clip.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this conversation, it's one that I'm not going to distance myself from. I'm just going to be more careful, because the internet can beat me into submission quite easily. I'm very sensitive. I don't know what, like, I'm in such a weird spot, right?
You need to be more confident in yourself, Chad.
But I know this is the problem. There could be 100 comments saying nice things or saying, hey, we appreciate what you do, and or even just constructive conversation based off the conversations we have. But all it takes is, one or two of people like completely taking things out of context, and that reaffirms my inner critic of whatever I might be self-conscious about, right? Like, in the sense of, because I understand the situation I'm in. I have chosen to work for ESL. I could have worked for all of the TOs like I did previously. I could have kept doing that because they kept asking me, but I had to turn them down because if I was continuing to work 300 plus days a year, I would lose my mind. Like, I had a period of time there where I was going from event to event. The amount of relationships that I've gotten into and then gotten out of because I've just been so busy and I can't prioritize other people in my life, and it's this fucking constant downward spiral. Like, I tried to decide to have a bit more time for me just to decompress and do things in my life, and by working less events. And the thing to doing that, I was able to do that with ESL, and right. But then the problem is when I talk about ESL, I have a lot more information. And to be fair, the bosses, it's not like they come to me and say, hey, Chad, here's the agenda. This is what you need to talk about today. It's I talk to the people in the company and get information that I probably shouldn't have. And then I come to you guys on a microphone and I try and give you that information in a way that isn't going to get me in trouble with my employer, so that we can all be a little bit more educated. But then I just get framed as like a shill. And that, to a point, right, I have an inherent bias because I like a lot of these people here. And I am a very protective guy of people I like. And I will do anything for people I like, especially if I see them getting hurt by something that isn't their fault or is unfairly construed. So I'll do my best to try and not clap back at it, but try and offer something that is a reasonable option to look at. And then when I get like framed in that in a light that seems unfair to me, it gets to me, and then I'm like, okay, so maybe I did overstep the mark here, because I think about it. I think when I talk about these things, how I talk about these things, how will I be perceived by this? And then when people make me feel like I have fucked up and overstepped that line, then I go, well, fuck, maybe now I just need to reel it in a bit, right? And it's like, I don't know, because I try to just be true to me, but I'm too much of a bitch. That's why I got to start reading the fucking internet, man.
I mean, it's natural too, because we are in the entertainment industry after all. We are slave to our fans, and the people that watch pay our bills too.
Yeah.
And so you do want to get a pulse for what they're saying. It's letting them actually get under your skin and affect your mood for the day is where you need to know when you need to draw the line.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like for me, I think the thing is, I was speaking to someone at the event, and they were like, "Hey, like, look, you read this today. If a thread crops up tomorrow about the same thing, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, there's like maybe you should consider what they're saying. But if it's just once, the thing that I have a hard time identifying, and I need to understand that everybody is a complex human, and they're going through things in their life. But I also have this weird fucking thing, as I think most people have this. We like being liked. Right? And even if it's a stranger on the internet saying something, it's like, what did I do or what did I say that made you dislike me? Right? I don't know anything about you as the person listening to what I'm doing, but you get to look at who I am. So what is it about how I presented myself?
And you don't know me as well as you think you know me.
True. Yeah. Well, this is the version of us talking, right? And also, yeah, they don't get to see us all the time and stuff. But I always just question. I'm like, what did I do specifically? Like, what was that pivot point of where you went from, like, this guy just seems like a disingenuous jerk, or this guy, you know, like, what was that point? And you're right, like, I shouldn't think about that shit, but
as an empath, I feel bad for them most of the time. You're using your time to write on a forum that no one reads to say something about a stranger you don't even know.
Well, apparently I read it.
You've empowered these people.
I think it's, okay, I think you're correct. A lot of people like to be liked. That's normal. The problem is when you need to be liked.
Yeah, true.
I feel like that's when you run into problems, and then you may potentially start doing things just to be liked and change like the things you do and change your values or whatever. But yeah, I think for me, it's just a lot of times it's, I just look at it, it's like these people don't know what they're talking about.
I used to have it much worse when I was a player.
Or you have, like, I don't know, a 16-year-old that's never done anything in their life, like telling you how to talk to your employer or how to talk about an event that you're working on. It's like these people that believe that which company would like keep you on if you're blasting them like during the event that they are paying you to work at?
People
like, are you like, what? Are you kidding me? Do you know how the world works? It's like we're critical like of ESL. I feel like, especially like some of the past pro league stuff or whatever, like voice down concerns and things that are wrong. But I'm not gonna like during the event, like I'm focusing on the fucking games and the teams, right? Like whatever's going on, we have problems like during the broadcast, shit like stops working or something gets fucked up, someone presses the wrong button, but you guys can't tell because it's our job to not allow for you to see it, and just keep going, right? And fill for 45 minutes because something broke and make it look like we were prepared for all that shit and
telestrator segments and shit,
and people
which was all on the fly, right? So, but that's the thing for me. Like there is every now and then you'll get people who will give you constructive criticism or praise and be objective about things and give some good comments, but all the times it's just people writing shit in order to write shit on the internet, right? So it's the same thing if you talk about the team and their performance. Like it's even worse because you get even worse shit written to you and about you and whatnot, right? But no one knows what goes on except for the people on that team that know the game plan, that know what was going on, and all of the stuff that happens on the server, right? So
people also, I think, want to frame it so often as like a binary. You're either it's not even it's just so black and white. They're either like you're a shill, you're a bootlicker, or something for your company, and it's like no, you're generally just trying to give a more well-rounded piece of evidence or information that's going to help you guys understand what just went on in that arena. Like I literally am posting I think the arena, before even map 1 started, I was like, I think this is like 70% plus full. And someone was like, Maui, you have to admit that this is actually a disaster or something. It's like, no, I'm just telling you what I see right now. I also was like, I'm not entering this discourse because I don't think it's worthwhile, but here are the facts. The nosebleeds are full, and it's probably 70% in the lower bowl.
Yeah. Well, it was a good turnout yesterday, right? I think
surprisingly,
I was surprised.
I was watching the winning moment, and like everything's filled down, like it was a stomp as well, so it wasn't like a great final in that sense, right? It wasn't like close, exciting game, Inferno, Threat Map Decider, 16-14 or something along those lines. So yeah, I was like positively surprised by that. And then you have people who are like, oh, but they're so quiet, and it's like, well,
the game wasn't that
there wasn't that
man.
many highlight moments.
No.
It's just the style of the game was like that. That it's not like they don't cheer. They didn't have much to cheer for, like to get really excited about. You didn't have too many moments like that.
Overpass had nothing, and Mirage had like 2 good fame moments.
Yeah,
and one of them was a single kill, by the way.
And people are like, oh, but look how it was in the Furia game. It's like, yeah, they're singing songs for the home team and chanting and like beating the drum. Why do they need to do? Why do you expect them to do that? They would even do that if Vitality was there. We've seen them chant the Vitality song in the Challenger stage, Legend stage. We see them cheer on FaZe in all these teams, right? I'm sure if we had one of those teams or had like Navi FaZe in the final again, right, you would have people like be more, well, not loud or vocal, but just more organized, perhaps,
there was a
right?
really unrealistic expectation set by what happened, at least from what I saw at Antwerp, where the Golden Hornets and the Roaring Bears, like the big and Vitality fandoms, they came together and they just, despite their teams not even being in the playoffs, they were actually just chanting things, and it was like really impressive how dedicated they were to their fan bases. And I think that's something that you just simply aren't going to get when people aren't going to travel all the way from France or Germany, I would assume, all the way to Brazil. They're just not there.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. We should probably, the uniqueness of those fan bases is a massive positive for when we have been in those other arenas, right? And maybe something we didn't realize at the time, now in contrast.
And here's another thing, right? You're talking about like crowd bias or whatever, but this comes from Brazilians being who they are. Like, listen, we had events like in Stockholm, right? Let's say Fnatic, when they had the Swedish lineup and they make the top 8, like, there's nothing stopping the fans. And yes, there's going to be more fans who are not Swedish as well, like travel there and whatnot, but nothing stopping you from chanting the whole game for your team, bringing drums in, but that's just not who they are.
Culturally speaking.
Culturally, that's just not who they are. So you have the opportunity to have that sort of an advantage. It would probably help them the way it probably has helped Furia at this event to some extent, right? So, it's just, you can't blame them for being who they are culturally and being more emotional or whatnot.
I think one of the other things that we touched on here, which we don't have to dig into, but the contrast of the finals, Na'Vi versus G2, best player in the world up against a massive organization like G2, and then you go into the next one and you have FaZe versus Na'Vi, the number 1, number 2 in the world, going toe to toe. We were so lucky with those finals. This is end result wise the repeat of like Krakow 2017, right? That was the Gambit versus Models.
That grand final was legitimately much better.
Yeah, but in terms of the actual gameplay, right? So I guess I framed that wrong. I was like end result wise in terms of the winner and the bracket all being a little bit odd or whatever. But in terms of the game itself, yeah. Like I remember that like when Mo just completely out-orped, was it Device on
Overpass,
like,
the semifinal,
right? And there was a lot more in the Counter-Strike like from that direction. That's because the Titans were falling in the playoffs. Well, who the fuck were our Titans in the playoffs here, right?
Na'Vi.
We had Na'Vi, and that was it. And we had Cloud9 with a high expectation, right? Right?
God, don't get me started.
Right?
Well,
poor Cloud9.
You guys had high expectations. I had no expectations.
Yeah, well, it's nice to
I still had Na'Vi winning it. That was my official pred.
It made me so sad to see little
Na'Vi
Shiro crying and hugging Hobbit. So sad, man.
Yeah, he wouldn't have to cry with a different IGL.
The corpse is still warm, Maui. The corpse is still warm, mate. Yeah, look, do we want to pivot? Have we finished with talking about all this like more overall stuff, or we can stay zoomed out a bit longer? I'm fine with that. Before we get into the details,
I mean, if it comes back to me, there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember right now.
Okay, all right. So the match itself.
I think just that when people aren't at these events, I don't know why, but I think it is a bit of a natural reaction that it's so rare for people when they're not at something to like embrace and enjoy the event to the fullest extent possible. Because when they're sitting at home, just, you know, taking notes or whatever, just like they're having it on their second monitor, like they're just like, this isn't it. This isn't amazing. This isn't capturing all of my attention.
Not the spectacle.
Is as much as I need it to be right now to take me away from my dreary life here. So when you're in the moment in that arena, you're gonna feel like it's a great time. I think we all said that was just unlike anything else we've ever been a part of.
For sure, yeah.
And then, but if you're at home, you're like, you just kind of pick apart all those little things. That's why I also never really wanted to big up that whole like biggest major of all time type of label, because that just sets an expectation that, you know, people just, they want to tear things down.
So, exactly. Which is a broader problem that I know Alex Machine Richardson also has.
He's a fan of that one.
But that's I want to say the same thing. I just wanted to kind of round it out with some like thoughts in general. Like, this was by far the most insane thing I've ever experienced at a CS event, and I haven't, you know, I don't follow all the esports all the time, but I think there was like a World Finals in Korea outside of the stadium, you know, StarCraft event like years and years ago that was massive, like on the scale that like kind of really blew everyone away, and this like I think blew everyone away. Even in the first two stages, I think it was amazing. Finally, we're getting. I was talking about this in podcasts before about like potentially Cologne. Like, there's a lot of great games being played without any crowd, like even if it's 500 people, right? So I'm glad we got that. In the first stages, like the arena was absolutely insane how loud it was. I had to press my headset with both my hands when we were doing the Furia Navi game, like I think Furia Navi game, or maybe even the
quarters,
or maybe even the semis, right? Because I couldn't hear Trace. Like I don't know what he's saying. Like I had to, you know, kill out the noise even more, right? So I think we had like awesome moments like that. I think there was a lot of different things. To be honest, man, I don't care about like these things around the event, you know, the fan fest, and if people liked it and it worked for them, I'm happy for them. But I'm just focused on the games and like the main fucking thing that we're doing, right? Like, I think it's cool. Like Cologne has the shit and it's cool, right? But it doesn't fucking do anything. You know, I don't really care about it personally. So I think that was awesome. Like, obviously the games were what they were and the teams that made it, you can't change that. And I guess for, you know, I think some of the games that you wish there were more people in it, but I don't know if you could have done something to change, whether it was just because of the teams that were there. If there were better teams, it would have been full or not.
That's hard as well. That's hard.
There's one more thing actually I did want to address about the in-arena experience is that, and I know I run the risk of losing my life in this country for even saying this right now, but
there we go.
The gala's casting, it's horrible. It's horrible.
It's not casting, really.
It's not. It's just. It's really.
Good point.
When I was watching.
No. I mean, I remember something now that he mentioned this.
Yeah. No. It's just that the way he was casting the grand finals. You see this insane fame kill. Fame.
Sure.
Jamie. Outsiders.
This sounds like an anime.
It's just like, yeah. I mean, it seriously was drawing any energy away from me. It was like a Dementor from Harry Potter sucking the life out of me. I don't mind listening to casting in other languages. But I do mind hearing a guy that sounds like he's about to keel over, just barely saying a name, and then sometimes once every 17 minutes starting one chant for four rounds, and then just like people let it die.
Sure.
It's like what was impressive about the challengers and legend stage is the people that were casting in there or starting the chants in there, because it felt like those guys had infinite energy.
That's true.
And that's why everybody was so hyped about the challengers and legend stage, because it was so loud the entire time and the mics caught that. But all the people also, the haters that were on the internet for the playoffs were saying like, yeah, we can't even hear the crowd. And I'm like, yeah, like, because it's not even that loud in here because people aren't getting excited because there's no casting, and so they're just reacting to Counter-Strike almost dry.
Yeah, and I don't know if Chad has more info about this, being the ESL shield that he is.
I'm gonna get a shirt.
I don't even know what happened. Like, you know, because originally there were casters in the arena, right? And I think they were like kind of fucking sideswept by this whole Gaules thing, that he was like, I don't know what was happening behind the scenes, who changed what, who initiated what, but yeah, that was kind of like, you know, what's going on? Like, I don't know what. I guess he's like super popular, and that's what the people want. I don't know. But that was weird because you feel like that could have helped the crowd get more engaged, right? When someone's shouting and like, oh, that's like, oh, I should be getting excited now as well.
The natural ramping that play-by-plays do, it makes me sit forward. You know, I get more invested, and that's why I say I can listen in any language because the intonation in their voice and their cadence can carry it, even if I don't know what they're saying word for word.
And I will say this for all the passion that the Brazilian fans have, and you know the atmosphere that they made when Furia plays, it's fucking unacceptable. Like some of the shit where if a player got spat on, or you know some of that shit, it's fucking disgusting. It doesn't have any room in any game, any country, right? I don't think it matters at all.
Period.
And as soon as you see that, there should be like security people there who, as soon as they see that, they just throw the person out, like immediately. Like that's just should never be a thing. And you know, I don't know how many incidents we had. It didn't feel like there were too many, but even one is one too many for me. And you know, you should just like know better than that. Whoever you are, whoever the fan or fans are who do that shit, like you can't have that happening.
Yeah, of course, right? And that's that right there is part and parcel of all of this. Like they're definitely like you can feel them as like this big organism of fans, right? Like everybody's involved, everyone's jumping over this, that, and the other, and they're supporting their team. But they're like to take things over the line like that at least from where we come from in the world, that doesn't happen, right? And I think that's one of the things that gives this a bad shine is 1, 2, whatever. I don't know how many people who did that. They give it. They bring negativity to everybody else, right? And that's what we say about a lot of these things, right? It only takes a couple of bad eggs to cause those type of issues. You know, you talk about this casting situation. That definitely wasn't the intention. They had casters for the first day or first 2 days or whatever it was.
Also, they even have they had 2 female casters as a duo. That was awesome.
Yeah, they
were doing the
second quarterfinal.
Yes.
Yeah. And like the thing was, I don't even think it was intended to have goalers in the arena, because I honestly don't think that they thought that there were going to be any Brazilian teams in the arena, right? But then when the Na'Vi Furia situation happened, it was like, okay, well, we can bring him in for this and we can get all this atmosphere going. But then it carried through because I think that was like a big red emergency button hit. Oh, shit. How do we make sure we can get more people coming in from the Fan Fest consistently? Well, if we have goalers here all the time, maybe that'll be enough. But as you were saying, when it's not their home team, right? His casting or the way he is entertaining,
he's presenting
exactly. That doesn't do anything. I mean, that doesn't bring the hype to Counter-Strike.
Surprised how he's so popular.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's I don't get it either. Like
I've heard
you'll never understand.
Yeah, no, I've been told by people that are Brazilian people that it's just like he just goes for low hanging fruit memes a lot of the time. So he'll be the guy that's be like, Jam time. Like he'll just say everything that we already know. So he's just basically like, you know, he's a sound booth or a soundboard. He's a soundboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he definitely has a shitload of fans, like because our caster desk was right next to where his was, and just like as soon as they finished, they're all throwing down shirts and flags and everything and signing consistently, and they were all there and like obviously extremely popular, right? Obviously a big part of all of this, as well as all the other Brazilians, big teams and everything to get to this point. But this was right. And this is where I do get framed as an ESL shill, but I'm just trying to offer up a different understanding of this for everybody. When you go to a new venue, this is the same for all TOs. When you go to a new venue, it's like, you know, wearing in a shoe, right? Like you get quoted the limitations of things. You have all the sizes that they say, yeah, there's power here, yeah, there's this, there's that, and you get before you get there, send people out on site and they check everything out and everything. Sure, but then in practice, things are always going to be different, right? Things are always going to be a little bit different. And if one thing fucks up that can be a major thing, right, it's going to affect everything else, right? So you definitely saw those teething issues. But let's say we do come back to Rio, right? We know we're coming to Brazil, but let's say we do come back to Rio and they pick the same place and they go to the same place. All right, well, we've done it once. Now we know what we're dealing with. We probably won't do a 360. We'll probably do this because we won't get as many fans, or we go to a smaller venue, right? But these are learning things. And that's the problem. When you take on something that's audacious as this and it has the prestige of a major and anything goes wrong, you're going to get lit up because people expect it to be perfect. But the last 2 PGL majors weren't perfect, but people forget about that. Me and Ike started casting one of the PGL games without a HUD. It was only group stage, but it was the very first day. We did it without a HUD. The first 5 or 6 rounds of the game without a HUD. So there's always issues that crop up,
and
right?
Great games always, like having a good games and good bracket, like it overshadows everything
100%.
else. Like as long as you can show the fucking game, you'll be fine, right?
Yeah, that's completely true, right? The quality of the match is the one thing that we're unable to control, though, and that right there is the unfortunate factor of all of this. And look, we found ourselves within the vacuum of this event, the best team won. right? Within
Yes.
and this is the issue that I have, like, because we're going to talk about not just us, everybody at home, and every Counter-Strike fan are going to talk about like the lead into this, and then the future of Counter-Strike, what it's going to mean for all of these teams. But the fact of the matter is, the best team won, and that's because they beat all the teams ahead of them to win the trophy, right? And within the vacuum of that cannot be argued, right? Winning a tournament is merit-based. People go, oh, the seeding, oh, this, all that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's not the conversation. The conversation is this team won. They won the trophy. They won the final. Like, they didn't cheat to get there. They weren't given matches easier. Cloud9 and Vitality essentially fucked the Legend stage.
Yeah. Well, there's a case that format can make a bracket and everything more favorable for teams that are favorites. Essentially,
They still have to win.
But yeah, I mean, I think outsiders prove themselves. I'm not taking that away from them.
Mate, FaZe lost to fucking Bad News Eagles. What do we do with that? Like,
yeah,
what do we do with that? It's like FaZe lost. I'm sorry, they lost.
And listen, the way outsiders played, like some of those games, they were just so good. I don't think any other team would have fared much differently. Like you go to the Fame kill trade on Tessus, who's like playing it perfectly. He's flanking apps. He's like holding for the first kill.
Good positioning.
He could have won. He should have won that round for Heroic. And then Fame just is like from jungle with a Galil, just insta kills him. Dude, any other player in the world would have fared the same. No one could. It's just that's how good. That's how sharp they were. That's how fast they were like in this tournament and in these games, and they weren't really close to losing any of the series. I mean, yeah, they lost some maps, but the decider was very convincing against Maus. Fnatic was 2-0, and the final was 2-0.
Yeah,
they haven't lost a best of 3 series in this throughout the main.
There's only best of ones they lost.
Best of ones, one in Challengers, one in Legends.
That's impressive.
Are we trying to get about the format though, or anything?
Well, we can do, right?
Did you talk about that before?
Well, because we talk about the format until the cows come home, Sid. Yeah. But the thing is, like, if you want to give your thoughts about it.
Well, I mean, I think that we saw the Swiss stage unveiled at Majors, that it was all BO1s. I think it should just be all BO3s. They moved it for the elimination. Remember how it was even elimination games and move up games to the next stage were still BO1s?
Yeah.
Like how Complexity made it to the Face It 2018 one. They just played Inferno 3 times, and then they just made it to the quarters.
And I played them in the quarters.
See, there you go. Yanko profited.
Yeah, and I think you just need to make it all BO3s personally.
Okay, look, I don't know if they'll ever do that. I would say it's highly unlikely.
Maybe even just the opener is a BO1, but then make the second game a BO3. But even that is better.
I'm not saying you're wrong, because I would like it all to be best of 3s, but the problem is I don't think we'll get there, right? Like
in the near future. It's just logistically, right? Like, it's obviously more time, more everything, blah, 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 longer days for the tournament. And
it would add a day.
It had more than a day.
More than a day.
It had a lot more than a day. Because we're talking about the fact that in one day, we could do
usually
8
get
best
two games out on the first day for everybody.
Yeah, but that would be with 4 best of 3s a day. We don't do 4 best of 3s a day anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, right, yeah.
Right?
Well, multi-stream. But
then that's when we get into the issue with the degradation of quality.
Yeah. If you do more than 2 streams.
But this is where I wish a TO would open up in these environments and not be so like precious for their sponsors and minutes sold, and just go, hey, we'll give... Well, now you don't have to with the major, because the IPs are already available for everybody. And just say, hey, look, anybody who wants to stream this can stream this. This match we might not have casters for or whatever, and then it just becomes... Like, that's not ideal for a major.
Why did we move away from GSL?
Because we had like bad seeding, and then we had groups of death and shit like that.
Okay, groups of death do make them feel
like the Cologne major in 2016 had that group with, I can't remember, FaZe, G2,
seeding is better like now, but it's still not perfect, right? And I think like my solution, and I don't have it fleshed out, and I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board here. I don't like Challenger and Legend stage. I wish we would just have one stage where everybody was in the group stage together. The problem is working out a 2014 format is extremely difficult to do. And
shout out Probably one time,
right? Yeah, that goes for fucking 5 weeks. So like this is where that conversation is a big one, because I don't like Sprout skipping to the Legend stage. That's an issue, right? But if everybody who just qualifies for the major is in the same stage, that's okay, right? And then
we don't have to use that narrative anymore. That's just like, oh, they're not warmed up because they just flew in
I hate
yesterday
that as well.
or 2 days ago.
I hate that as well.
Yeah.
That sucks so much.
Such a random external circumstance.
Because you can take it either way.
Yeah.
You can say this team is like warmed up, but this other team didn't have to reveal anything yet.
Yeah, yeah. But I think the thing is, imagine if now we'd have to find the format. This is the thing. So I forget that we don't have a good format right now and pretend we do. But let's say we move from the RMRs into the major, and then every team at the major seeds one another, and then we get the team seeding.
I love team seeding the best.
But we'd have that, and all 24 teams would be starting at the same line in the sand. So everybody will have agreed by aggregate that these are the best teams, this is how they should be seeded, and then the format will go, and then we get our top 8 for the playoff, right? And at that point, there'd be, if anybody argued with any upsets at that point, those people are fucking idiots, because how could you, right? There's no more excuses to be made anywhere across the line, and upsets happen, as you've already prefaced, right? This is a competition. The best team will not win all the time. That is not how this works. And also, the people at home need to understand, this is one thing that irks me a little bit, and it's fine, right? I just want to put this out there. If you are one of the people who think like Counter-Strike is in a more pure form when it's open circuit and everybody can compete, but then you don't tune in to watch Maus versus Outsiders or Outsiders versus fucking Heroic in the final, then you, right, are saying that you like the models that Blast and ESL have with their partner teams. That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because you only want the best teams, which is what they have, and the best teams, quote unquote, because of the organization or the players in the team or all those kind of things, right? The way that they do social media, the fact that it's your favorite fucking player.
It's just actually not even an argument anymore that people really want the best Counter-Strike possible, because
right, it's just scary, right?
Because I mean, it is just like newsflash. We have emotions. We care about people and narratives, and so we want to see Simple face off against Nico. We want to, we want to see all the top players play all the top players because we like that. But this was like the best argument I think Thorin made ever recently, was just like saying that if people really wanted the best Counter-Strike ever, why weren't you watching in the online era? Because everybody was playing better.
Everyone was playing wild CS online. Well, besides like the old dogs who initially started slow, but yeah, everybody had like every refined, right? There was no issues with any. Like, yeah, Counter-Strike was going towards. It was so much saving.
Those Navi Gambit games were like the highest level CS ever. Just period. I don't think it got much better than that.
Okay, all right.
Until Outsiders showed up,
won this event,
rolled up, won this event. Shout out to them.
I mean, like in 2020 when it was online.
Yeah, I know. Okay. But I mean, I ran into Dustin this morning as well, and he just has the biggest fucking grin on his face, right? Like,
he looks so happy.
I still can't believe it, right? That we're actually fucking major champions. Like, thank you for believing in us and whatnot. We saw that, you were like praising us. We watched some of the segments and whatnot.
Maui's always been an Outsiders fan. Well, even when they were Virtus Pro.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely got turned around IEM CIS New York, if you remember that.
Oh, yes, I do.
That's when Yakinder first really showed me that, okay, he can work on this lineup, and then I bought stock when it was pretty low at that point, and I'm selling really high right now.
How's the big stock going, mate?
The big stock is actually kind of...
Let's stick to the positives.
I bought it low. Chat. I still bought it low enough that I didn't take a loss on that.
That's Chad. He builds you up so he can tear you down. But yeah, man, it's just such a crazy story. I feel like obviously, a team that's not... I think in general, CIS teams get underrated because, they're not talked about as much because
it's harder,
people are going to talk about fucking... Yeah. That's what people are talking about Team Liquid as a contender. It's like, give me a fucking break, dude. Like, just because you want them to succeed and they're in and they're popular and everything, like, and whatnot, it's like they're still far away from, winning anything really, it feels like. But yeah, and I'm not saying that I had Outsiders pinned to win this event or they're gonna like win something else like in the next 2 or 3 months. I don't think they play that they were now the World Finals, or are they? But I just want to say that for them, like the way they play, like Fame, like he's been a fucking revelation in this tournament.
Yeah.
And I see him like flit, like I seen them like 4 times in the last 5 days, like at breakfast together, like you always kind of see them together. I'm like, these guys are fucking, how do you say, connected by the hip.
Yeah.
So they seem to be getting along really well. I remember we were talking about it in the last episode, right, when me and Jason did this thing with them, and said that they're saying they've been living together for like 6 months now, right?
Since
boot
like
camping
May, since
these guys joined, basically. Norbert and Fame, and it's like that's what could potentially give them an edge over everyone else to to win the tournament. And Flit has played amazing in the playoffs, like the final series, obviously, also
great.
the semifinal, right? Even though I have to say, Jalen was a little bit shaky at the start of that Mirage game, right? You look at some of those early post plant, and he's like jumping around, and he's like trying to figure out like which fight to take, which angle to take. It's a little bit flustered, and that's what, you know, Fame has the 1v2, has a couple of like sick rounds, you know, sick kills that make it like easier for Jalen to call and win a couple of rounds. And also he had the double kill with the fucking outsiders, man. Who else has, after they lose pistol, 2 FAMASes with armor?
That was so crazy.
And a scout, like, and they get the right read. They gamble 4A, and the 5th player is Cat. And Fame has this like fucking off angle, like, you know, the default one, which is it gets 2 kills. It's just so good, right? You can't like not appreciate it if you like good CS.
Yeah, and I think that Flit is just the sickest Mirage rifler right now overall. I've never seen him in an uncomfortable position. Like, he always seems to be in control. Ever since he was on Forza, I think that actually I was looking at the stats for like every player on every map or whatever, or like top players on every map across top 30. And even back when he was on Forza, he was always like a 1.3 rated player on Mirage. And so I went back at his demos, and he was the Cat player then. He's the Con player now for Outsiders. Dude was just like literally like on T side, he could just do anything. He could do anything and just win fights. And it was just, you know, people are like Mirage gods, but they're usually specialists. Like, they're good at swinging Palace at the right time, or they are usually good at the mid fights. But you could throw Flit in anywhere on any part of that map, and he knows how to multi-frag, and he knows how to open space up.
And you look even at, you know, Kickert and Norbert, and, you know, Kickert didn't have an amazing tournament. Like, he had a pretty bad tournament up until the last couple of games, right? By his standards, but he played with confidence still. Like, go back to the ancient game against Maus, and like in a 3v4, and he just jumps through the smoke CT, knowing that he has to go for it if they're gonna have a chance to win the round. And if he dies, then they can save. Like, but he's not having like a great game, and still makes like the play that he needs to make and gets the kills, and it's great, right? Norbert also sort of a X Factor, it feels like. I mean, Jamie even said it on the desk in the post-game interview. It's like, you know, it's a joke that because like Simple was talking shit to him, like, you know,
I was talking shit about Norbert
or something, you know, and then James told him like, listen, man, just go win a major final, and, you know, then you got him, right? Like, then he can't say anything after that. So yeah, all the players, I've been saying this about Outsiders, even like at Pro League and stuff, that what you can tell from them is like they're always pretty close at the scoreboard. Obviously now the major is a little bit different, but usually like there's no clear weak link, and it has to be that way because of their style and the way they operate and whatnot. So
for the emotional side of Outsiders, if people want to just latch onto the narratives also, there's pretty much nothing to dislike about almost any of them except Norbert. Like, I don't know.
Because of his tweets a bit, right?
Yeah. Because of his tweets, especially earlier in the year when he was calling Bird from Sky a cheater.
Yeah.
That was like, because there's reasons to dislike Heroic, but for narrative reasons, for sure, last couple of years. But with Outsiders, it was so easy to root for them because James just honestly seems like a pretty chill and funny guy. Kicker just...
Check out his YouTube channel, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Man was just so shameless about the self-plugs there, but...
he gets it.
Kickert's like a nose to the grindstone guy. Like, also, he switched his role like 3 times with his team already. He's just doing whatever they need, always. And Dastan actually, like... I think probably the most humble like coach ever,
right?
Because everybody, I mean, when I had talked to them before, I think like Yakindar or like any of their players on post game interviews, they'd say, I'd be like, what is Dastan doing? And they're like, he's just helping out with our emotions, making sure we're in check or in line. And then it kind of like the more you really peel away at what's going on there, it actually seems like Dastan's actually helping, and you know, keeping them in check actually means helping put the system together with Jane, but I'm still not really sold on that entirely. Like, I don't know what he does, but he also is just really a pleasant person to be around. Like, every time you see him, he's just like smiles and just.
But did you notice?
Ready to say hi.
It's a little bit different, obviously, because you guys had the in-arena experience, and it probably wasn't being pointed out by Golas. But he was taking timeouts very early in games consistently.
Yeah.
Even when they were winning, he would take like on the 3rd round or on the 5th round, he would take a timeout, and he was talking the entire time.
They were up 3-0, and he called a timeout.
Yeah.
Really?
But that's the thing.
The next Blade.
That was intentional, right? And I thought that was pretty interesting to see. And right. And he also spoke about the fact that at this event he's left like James a bit to his own devices, and Dustan's taken the other 4, right? And he's been dealing with them and working. So James been able to focus more on himself, and it paid off. The guy got the MVP of a fucking major, right? So the same obviously on the other side. It felt like Katie and definitely put more time into his individual performance as well, and that showed. Yeah, but you were talking about the early stages of that Mirage game, right? And the one thing that I noticed on the early side of that Mirage game was that Fame was like 0-5 at one point. And I made sure to point it out that like he is at the moment, I think he was the highest in that going into that game in the entire major with the Challenger, Legend Stage, Champion Stage on Mirage, the highest in terms of opening like rating for the T side. And then that next round he gets 2 kills. So I'm like, okay, nice, the storyline pays off here, and it feels nice when that happens. And then you were talking about Flit and right, he being with that rifle. Well, then you had him and Fame who could just hold mid with 2 rifles.
Yes.
James didn't even need to be there
That's
with all.
OP, man.
James was anywhere. James was like, I'm gonna get boosted on B this round. I'm gonna be here. It just made like mid like a no-go zone because those two would fuck you up. And like James could literally be that ghost AWP, right? You had no idea where he was going to be. He could be wherever he wanted. And I thought like that approach right there made it really hard for Heroic. But I don't know, like the veto didn't go the way I expected. I thought we were going to get maybe a Vertigo in the mix. I feel like the Overpass pick was a mistake from Heroic, obviously in hindsight.
It was a mistake.
It's a big
Immediately that's a mistake. Overpass have been playing, Outsiders have been playing great Overpass.
Well, that's the problem. And, we were talking about it on the desk saying, yes, they beat them 16-9, but it comes from a 13-2 CT side. And Outsiders have been one of the strongest T-side teams, right, this tournament. So that's not going to happen again. You're not going to have that sort of a side. I think also we don't know. Heroic, obviously, a team has their own depth chart of their map pool, right? But, Vertigo historically hasn't been great for them, but they won 2 convincing games at this tournament, right? Like, so I guess for them, the decision was, do we go with tradition or, the recent results? But I thought they could go for Vertigo, to be honest. Like, I thought if they were going to go for something, it has to be that. And that's the problem, like the veto for Heroic against Outsiders, with them vetoing Nuke, it's just like really, really tough. Like I don't have a map, like any map that they would have played, Outsiders are either favored on it or they have still a very, very good chance winning. I would probably, the only one I would say was Vertigo, where I would maybe give a slight edge to Heroic, but you also don't have too much information on a map like Ancient, right, for both teams. Like for Outsiders, how do they feel on it? But then they, had obviously the Maus game.
I think I feel a little better about Ancient for Heroic than I do Overpass. For sure.
But I think the thing is, like, when you look at it, when you win Overpass the first time round and you start on the CT side and you get a 13-2 half, and then the T side you only need 3 rounds, it's like
you never tested that side of yourself against them.
Exactly. So it's like, are you just assuming that you had a really good T side that you're going to be able to make work here? And as we saw, the first 9 rounds of the game, Heroic were trying to keep that pressure on to break the economy. They kept having buys. They kept having buys. They kept having buys. And I got it because they had him right there. They had him at the breaking point for so long. But then as soon as it was like, you lose a round and all 5 stay alive, that's fucking it. And now you're snowballed out of control. And then it just kept going and going and going. And that's the unfortunate nature, right? And it looked silly at the time. Same thing with Art, with what he was doing on Nuke. Right, when he was buying out of pattern with the team in classic Art style, but traditionally when it works and he gets an opening kill and he doesn't go like fucking 1 in 10 in terms of opening duels, then things are fine. But when it doesn't work, you go, you can't be doing that, and that's the problem, right? Like these players make these plays that are not the right plays, but when it works, you have to credit it because that's the I don't know. They obviously don't do things by the book like Outsiders who do things by their own book.
Something that's also really concerning about Heroic going into that Overpass and even how they played it was that when I looked pretty closely at how they were playing at every T-side Overpass throughout this event, or like their last few ones at least, and they go B like nearly 70% of the time, and they start with like a 1-1-3 kind of default most of the time. And against Outsiders, they kind of kept trying to test A, and it was like, you're one, not very good at this compared to your B default, and 2, James might be one of the smartest CT oppers on Overpass period right now. So that just felt like also a poor game plan going into it, if we want to break that down.
The CT game plan I got, like, I loved how active Shush was immediately. Understand, like, and the fact he got that kill on Kickit, like, he did that A ramp push right in towards T spawn, and like Kickit didn't see him. He must
that
have
was
got,
so weird.
Must have been
so
black
strange.
bars. Must have been black bars, right?
No, I think it's like when you
pre-aiming.
The fence
the
fence can actually obscure the model
depending on your res and your settings.
Yes, it like blocks
That's
it
the only
just
thing
enough.
that explained it to me.
Yeah, I think you watch it from his perspective, the fence probably blocked him.
Oh dear.
But Heroic had a good game plan, right? I like it. You like it when your storylines pay off, like from a talent perspective. And we gave an example, like in the pregame, saying like Heroic probably should go for like heavy mid fights, you know, just like kind of, the problem is just timing it, or you want to do it immediately, whatever. And then, you know, it's 3-0, they win that first round with Shush pushing ramp, and then on 3-1, so outsiders buy again, they do like immediately like 2 guys connector, 1 window, and 2 guys are going cat or something like that, and they flash, right, and they go for the immediate fight, and they just like trade 3-for-1, you know, like they win the fight and win the round pretty much immediately there, and you're like, yeah, this is how they need to play. It's good, but unfortunately, like they fucked up a couple of, you know, they lost to a half bar or 2, something like that. There were a couple of rear rounds. Then you had the Tessus flank that obviously Fame gets the kill, which is also unfortunate. And yeah, you could tell also Heroic, man, has to be said, they were tired. Like they finished their game late the day before, and I don't know if I were CSPPA or whatever, like, or if I were her, I would like bring the, you know, like you should have something, and you see the schedule initially for the playoffs, you should be saying, wait, so this game can end at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and we have to play like at 3 the next day. Why not 5, right? Why not 6 if it's a best of 3? Okay, and obviously the ESL wants to hit the time zones because of people who are watching online and try to cater to as many people online as possible. But hey, like, you know, these are the guys who need to actually play the fucking thing. So I think definitely that should have been pushed like 2 to 3 hours.
It's 4 hours difference, right, to CET right now. So if we started at 3, we were starting at 7 o'clock their time, which is peak. That probably makes sense.
Yeah. So
yeah, go nuts.
So, you know, I feel like that's a bit of an oversight. You know, when you win such a big game, like you made it into the major grand final, there's all these interviews that you're doing. So, you know, they finished. I don't think they could have gone to bed realistically before like 1 a.m.
You're on a high as well with the victory of that game.
Yeah, the fucking whatever, all the hormones and the fucking...
hormones.
The liquids.
The testosterone.
The testosterone, the serotonin, the melatonin, the fucking estrogen.
Everything, man. Everything.
Right, so you're going to need time to decompress, and then, you know, the obviously, like, it doesn't matter. The coach will not, maybe in the analyst, you know, they don't even need to sleep if that's the case, or just sleep for a couple of hours and get it. Now, I was joking, you know, get Carrigan on the horn, get Glaive on the horn, unite like all the Danes, like do the prep for them. And
Carrigan's get ready for the show match, mate.
Yeah. but you know, and then, you know, you want to kind of optimize the performance for your players and make sure they get enough rest, but also you want to prepare for the fucking grand final, right? And you have to come at the arena at a certain time.
Do you think that affected the veto?
We said it in the broadcast. I think maybe because of all of this, if you're Heroic, you just focus more on yourself and pick a map that you really feel good on.
Yeah.
Because you maybe don't even have time to prep as much or as deep as you would like. So maybe that's why they pick Overpass, because they already did a lot of prep for the map. Because of their best of 1 game, and they've played the map, so they have a feel for how outsiders like to play. So that could be a legit thing.
1 second, Yanko. Let me answer the phone.
Okay, I'll just go here.
Are they trying to kick me out?
I'll just go for... Oh, Maui's back. Hey, you have until 6, mate. You paid for this shit.
Hey,
Maui.
Hello. How's it going? Okay.
Well, that will change. But yeah, I was just talking about, you know, like...
Yeah, I could hear.
Yeah,
I could hear it.
So thoughts?
The timing, I mean, it definitely wouldn't have hurt to push it 2 hours. I'll say that for them.
We said, did you hear a bit about the veto? That maybe that's why they...
Yeah, because of the fact that they played it before, they already prepped it.
And they were tired and stuff.
Yeah. That seems like a bit of an oversight. I don't know necessarily if they... I think that whenever they came to the decision, though, to pick Overpass, I think they probably did it with enough logic and reasoning that I don't know if 2 more hours would have changed their entire thought process there.
I assume they were scared of Inferno, right? Because of the result the day before where they got fucking hammered, right? Like the day before they got fucking hammered on Inferno by Furia.
And outsiders have been good on it in the playoffs, right? They beat Fnatic, they beat Maus.
Even though they beat Furia on Ancient, Heroic, it was close, right? They almost lost from that 15-5 scoreline, and that was the first time that Heroic had played Ancient in this event, right? In that series against Furia, that was the first time Heroic had played Nuke and Ancient. The other time they'd only had to play like the other 3 maps in their map pool, or 4 maps in the map pool.
It's really strange because actually when covering Pro League, I strongly felt like Heroic's best map there was Ancient, because when they were actually making this lineup, most of the Ryabi roles were just, I mean, they didn't make sense for him. Like that's like been one of my talking points for this team since they made the move, is that him for Refresh didn't really make sense in terms of roles at all. Like Refresh was playing lurker spots. Yabi was a space taker for Copenhagen Flames. But the one role that he got consistent between the two teams was Ancient. He's like the lane guy. For T-side, he's like a lane taker. And then he gets to lurk it a lot too, because Heroic, they had Refresh there because, sometimes the lane guy, when you're taking B space, you become a lurker, so they just put him there.
Yeah.
But then you're also fighting at the beginning too. So I thought that was like the best match for them by far, or the best map for them, that is. But I guess they sometimes, for some reason, moved away from it. I think people don't really know yet what they think about Ancient and making it their pick, because people just are so scared of that like CT side dominance on it. But I think a couple teams have unlocked that map enough now, Spirit being one, Maus being another, that they just understand now that after 40 seconds, you kind of know where the CTs are probably going to be, and you could just mid-round through mid all the time. Like, no one's sitting red room with 30 seconds left.
No, if you have that slow start, right, you wait out the mid and B lane utility, and then you can almost play the map pretty standard, right? So, look, I like the way it's evolving, right? We're obviously seeing the meta evolve in front of all of us, because it's the newest map to the pool still. I hope we get a new one soon. I hope we get a new map coming in soon.
Instead of Overpass for fucking Vertigo. But I also think
what about Dust 2? Fuck Dust 2, man.
For outsiders, it's interesting that I don't think they're the best team in the world on any of the map they play. I think they're just really good on a number of maps.
They're pretty much just elite at all of the maps, but not the best.
So they don't need to go to a single map, or really good at Overpass, really good at Inferno, really good at Mirage, obviously, right? They didn't have to play a lot of Dust 2 this event. They didn't have to play it once in the playoffs. I don't remember as much about the other games, so that might be a weak spot for them that people just haven't really been able to exploit.
Well, remember that Vitality game against Outsiders in Pro League where it was just so many fucking saves? I don't know, maybe if you were doing it or one of you would have been doing it, right?
I wasn't.
There was just so many saves. That was a really boring game. Both teams were saving consistently.
Oh, one thing though I would love to bring about Outsiders is that the Overpass shift for me, so basically before this event, this whole thing, the Challenger stage, they hadn't played Overpass for 4 months. And when they played it last, Norbert was a horrible A rifler. He was really bad at it. Like he clearly didn't know where he was supposed to go in the mid round, and I don't think he played it for K23 either. But then they just decided to put Fame there in the 4 months of practice that they've had since then.
Makes sense.
And then they became one of the sickest Overpass teams. And so this is another reason why I just want to give so much credit to James, because I don't think Fame really was an A rifler either, but he's just learned so fast. So, I mean, credit to Fame for learning it. But also I think that James and Dostan helped him and held his hand, because he probably said, hey, Yakinder used to do this, Yakinder used to do that. That was good.
First major.
Major champion.
Second LAN or whatever, third LAN.
For major champion while playing a spot for the first time at the event. For Fame.
It's sick. So I think that wraps up Outsiders Heroic. Give a bit of credit to Maus as well, right? I wasn't sure how they were going to perform, crowds and whatnot, and big games, but they delivered, especially in that quarterfinal game. I didn't watch all the maps that closely, right? But just being able to beat Cloud9, no matter how much Cloud9 crumbled or played like shit or whatever, considering the inexperience that those guys have. I think Exertions...
It's a big win for their future.
Exertions great. Dexter has had some great games, right? So proving that he can lead that team, not just in terms of calling, but also on the server, kind of be a driving force as well. Probably the only kind of question mark, or the main question mark for me, is Torji. He hasn't been playing on a level that we saw him play initially, really. So it's fine that you give him some more time, but you want to see some positive changes, right? Otherwise, you'd have to look somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly fair. I've to just remark on Torzi, I'll give credit to Maus after, but for Torzi in particular, coming from the Academy League and watching him so much there, I was pretty much saying the entire time, this guy's just the next Poison. He's aggressive, he's flashy, he's gonna push through smokes probably when he shouldn't. He will be punished for it. Right now, he's not being punished for it. Yeah. And then when he first played Katowice, he did it, and he wasn't getting punished for it because people didn't know this guy was going to be this ridiculous, right? And now it's just he's having to play a more solid style of opping, and he's not finding as many opportunities because he can't just do the FPL, the puggy way. I wouldn't even say FPL. In FPL, you're going to get shot in the face, but in a pug, you can probably pull off a running through smoke here and there.
Yeah, and I think Dexter's running a pretty tight ship over there with Cyclone, right? It's not like they're just playing that type of Counter-Strike where that AWPer gets those type of opportunities. If you go and go for those moves and you cost your team that kill, it's going to make it a lot harder on them, right? They can't make up for it in the same way. Feels like they're playing... I remember when watching Maus, when well, this was more towards the start of the year, and they were just playing like really slow. It's like they're going, hey guys, the first 6 months of this year, we're just going to practice defaults, right? And that's all we're going to do. We're just going to default, and then we're going to regroup.
That's how they play for the last 2 years with Dexter, though.
Right, like, and now they've actually added a bit more.
There's been nothing exciting to watch them tactically for 2 years until after Dallas. Dallas is where they decided to actually have a talk with Dexter, and they just straight up told him, we can't play like this anymore. They told me that. I think they've said it on broadcast at this point too. I'm not leaking anything.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, but what they started doing after Dallas is that at Cologne, at the like 45-second mark, they would just group no matter what. They would no matter what map, you just watch them. 45 seconds on the clock, boom, they're all together, all five, and they just 5-man somewhere. They don't even try to use lurkers or anything. But then for this event and like Pro League, they started using lurkers. They started using Frozen as like a lurker on certain maps. And so they started evolving their playbook in a way that they first just all got on board by working together. And so they wouldn't just die in defaults. And then it's just gotten better. They have one of the best T sides right now. Like,
they're headed in the right direction. That's the cool thing, right? This event was promising. Now they've got the stage experience as a unit. They have a lot of that carried now, whether the crowd or not, right? It doesn't matter. For these kids, it's still a massive step in the right direction. So there's also going to be more of that belief. It also changed the conversation because I think, like, at least from our side over here, well, mine specifically, I thought they were just going to shit the bed again, right? Like, that's what I thought. They're going to get nervous in this situation and they're just going to flounder. But they had different individuals step up in those moments who weren't the ones that you necessarily expect, right? Like that Dexter game on Mirage, you can keep returning to that one. But it's good to see that they're headed in that right direction, but I'm disappointed that James has knocked both times the Aussies have ever made it to the semifinal of a major. He's knocked them out.
I want to hear from your end, though. What does it feel like to have someone from your country playing in the semifinals?
Well, because there's still a connection to most of these guys.
Yeah.
From when I was playing. So, like, to be honest, when I see, especially when the boys won, like made it to the semis before, like that was a lot because like Aaron and Justin, like I've known them forever. With Dexter, it's not the same, but I still have that like level of pride that like somebody who has had to go through the same things that I went through has taken the opportunities now to like break out and be able to play in this environment, right? So for me, I don't know, like this is where it's the wanky type answer, but I don't know, I just feel like proud, right? That somebody, this is where the patriotic nature comes in. That's why I can understand why people support their teams and stuff. Yeah. I don't have a team to support really. Like Greyhounds, they're not there. It's going to be.
Sorry.
No, you know what I mean? Like we all know that they're like always in with a puncher's chance to get an upset, but they're never going to go deep. And then to see Dexter come in with his team and graft, and he's such a nice guy. Like he's such a nice guy. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I always get like the happy emotions.
And he's a good player, you know.
He was the best player on Renegades when he was there.
When it was still kind of uncertain what was going to happen, like with FaZe, with Nico leaving and whatnot, and the possibility of me like remaining and getting to rebuild the whole lineup kind of from the ground up, I had him like as the guy who I was like when I talked to the FaZe guys and they said like, I was thinking like we should give this guy maybe a chance or at least like do a couple of interviews or something, because we went through this thing with Neo and like the names were like Neo, Snappy, and I don't know what, right? And so it's like, I mean, this is not a knock on Snap because now he's in Ents and they're doing great, right? But at the time, it didn't feel like for the team, you know, that was a good fit. So I was like, let's just get someone fucking like fresh, hungry, right? Like switch it up a little bit, not recycle the old names. So yeah, great tournament from him and from Maus.
The Snappy thing, I mean, what he's been doing with Ents is the best work he's done in his career. I mean, unless you're going really far back, I don't even really remember.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think also a lot of credit to I always talk to it as a duo, right? Like coaching him. I think their coach is also really good. Probably one of the more underrated ones. Saw, yeah. One of the more underrated ones out there. And you know the way they played with the old lineup is kind of they had to play that way, right? Like they didn't have the players to play default and like do what outsiders do or Cloud9 does or FaZe does or whatever. So they had to go for that style, and that's what got them like deep runs and deep finishes. It was that style and some wins, right? And now they're trying to do this other thing, and we see that it's work in progress, and they had some good games, obviously losing to Maus in the end, right? They were close. They were one map away from making the playoffs.
So we're giving positive signs to Maus. That's different for us.
I
maybe not for you. For us, it's a bit different.
Well, I had him going through my pick'ems
into the finals.
Not to the finals, but into the playoffs. I am going through to the playoffs. I've had them every stage of the way. I think they're very convincingly a top 7 team.
Okay.
Very convincingly.
All right.
Top 7. What a number.
Hey, look, you know, he's refining it a little bit more. He could have gone top 10. That's lazy.
But
they're better than top 10. They're like 8 or 7.
There could have been a lot of I told you so's, Chad, in this episode, but that's not necessary. So
we're better than that, Yanko.
How do we fix Cloud9?
Oh, yes. My favorite topic.
Well, I assume there's going to be a broader shuffle, right? There's going to be a broader shuffle. I think there's big conversation to be had about this. Like, first of all, what's Outsiders' relationship with VP? Because we know in Dota, VP is allowed to be VP again, right? As far as I understand. So what's going to happen with Outsiders? If they are allowed to be VP again, do they even want to stay at VP? Do they want to try and go somewhere else, right? Because if there's that opportunity for a different organization to buy them.
But what do we think is... Do we think that they're just getting paid normally and everything like they're in the org, but they just can't play under their name?
That's
or
what
you
I
think.
Like,
yeah. I don't. I think it has to be with some kind of cut because it's just like, hey, we're not getting as much value out of you guys right now, but we're still going to support you so that we hold on to your rights.
Yeah, we'd probably get some of the sticker money. Like that's the thing. I don't know what that relationship is, but apparently if it's allowed in Dota, then I guess that must be considered okay by some metrics, right?
Yeah, but let's get back to Cloud9.
Well, this is the thing. So, but that's the thing. So if Outsiders stay as Outsiders, right?
Yeah.
They don't change.
Yeah.
Okay, so none of those names are on the table. Then you have to look. Well, SDY, is he staying?
No.
Okay, so if SDY is not staying, is Cloud9 going to lose? Is Cloud9 going to lose anybody to Na'Vi?
See, they should.
Maui, you have the floor.
No, I just think there's a couple ways that this can blow up for Cloud9. One is they just straight up change the captain, change the IGL, or you just kind of sell some of these pieces, or they move around because
they just bought him though. Right?
Yeah, yes, but like if you can sell some of them, like say you can sell 2 of them. You might get almost all of that back right now.
But you're definitely keeping Shiro, right?
Well, you could sell Hobbit to Na'Vi. You could sell Axile to Na'Vi. You could sell Axile or Hobbit to Outsiders. You could sell Shiro to basically anybody. Like, if you wanted to do these moves. But I'm not saying this is what they should do. Like, I think they should just change Nafany. Like, that's what I've been saying
but with
for
who?
like 9 months now. I'm still gonna stick with Boomich. I think Boomich is better.
That's not happening, man.
I think Boomich is.
It's not gonna happen.
I think Boomich is so much better.
I think he's considered a meme, bro. The way that I've heard it like spoken about, it always seems like it's in jest. I don't like because
yes, I'm aware that people just saw the things that his ex posted of him, which he never should have done. But I also don't hold that against him because I think that's just fucked up.
No, but I think that there's more to Boomich as a person than what we're giving credit to, right? There would be a reason that when I'm getting the sentiment from these other teams, like it's through broken English, right? But the sentiment doesn't seem like I don't want to drop names here, but I was in a bus with a Russian team, and we were talking, and we was like, oh, it's a CIS shuffle, and a couple of them like started looking around. I was like, so where's Boomich going? And everybody just started laughing. So it's like
unlucky.
So I don't know what to take from that, but I didn't take that as a necessarily positive thing for Boomich.
If I still want to keep moving down the list, Jerry or Chopper, both fine by me.
Now, if they can get Jerry from Fours, which is interesting, I don't know if that's possible. That
seems impossible for some strange and malicious reason.
But if it is possible, I like Jerry. The thing is, Jerry always seems, from our perspective in the public eye, to be very candid about the way he talks about him and the teammates and the issues. But another person who is similar to that is Dexter, right? He is very candid in the way that he talks about his issues. But we've seen with Dexter recently, some of the things maybe get a little bit taken. Well, no, right? Like, so what, is Jerry the same or is Jerry genuine? I don't, like, I think I have to take him at face value.
But also, like, it's, I don't know, it's kind of hard.
Let me get the door 1 second, gentlemen.
Oh, no, it's fuzzy.
Yeah. Sorry. Hi. Sorry. No, it's okay. I'm coming. Just to let you know if you are here. But don't worry. Yeah, they called.
Well, it's just Chad having, I don't know why we stopped talking, but Chad just having a conversation with the hotel staff. They probably didn't just update his checkout time or whatever. I'm just hoping.
Do you guys ever cut parts of the podcast out or you just leave everything?
I think we'll leave. I think we never cut anything out.
Oh, okay. I felt like
this maybe I don't know if Chad's gonna be like Chad does this stuff, so I don't know if he's gonna cut this out or not. But yeah, Cloud9, right? What we're talking, yeah, Jerry and all that stuff. Here's the thing, like we've got more information over the last couple of tournaments due to doing more interviews and just talking to the team and being around players a little bit more and paying more attention to when they actually play. Shiro does an insane amount of talking during games. Like he talks the most during their games. Hobbit talks a fair amount as well. Obviously, Nafany is the in-game leader.
Yeah.
So the question for me is this: like, I don't think Chopper would leave Team Spirit.
No,
I think
seem like
he feels like his team.
Yeah,
sort of, right? And I think he
did get removed from it briefly.
True, but now I think the things are a little bit different.
Yeah.
So Jerry potentially, if they feel like he can be the guy, but what about we put Shiro as the in-game leader and get just another player?
I mean, I would also...
Or potentially Hobbit.
So what you would expect from Shiro then, if he loses... or if he has to take on that role, is like, let's say he has a 15% decrease in output. He is still really good.
Yes.
Like, so you don't actually think it's that bad. But, I mean, I'll give people like insight as to why I've been saying cut Nafany as opposed to all these other things, because I think the other camp out there is cut Inters. I don't think Inters is a problem.
I think Inters is very good.
Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page.
He's been executing his role extremely well.
Exactly.
Bit of a poor tournament here, but in general, last couple of months he's been much improved.
Sometimes this role doesn't. There's not a lot you can even accomplish statistically, like unless you really start playing selfishly, and then you're just well outside the system and what your role is. But the reason I say this thing about Nafany too is that it has been over a year now that we have switched to playing without the coach talking. And with Cloud9, they were the one team that was basically the coach talking during live game abusers. Like if you go back to the Gambit POV comm videos, they are just filled with Groove talking the entire time. He's calling out what rotations need to be made. He's saying in the mid-round, guys, calm down, take a deep breath. You have a 2-on-2 retake. Like, he's literally outlining the situation for them as they're about to encounter it. And it's just, like, that's why I know Nafany is not mid-rounding well. That's why I know he is also probably too emotional, too. Like, I've seen him make so many weird mistakes in terms of what the call should be for the next round. And I also think that there's some blame to be placed on the system that they're putting in right now. But I think that the system maybe could work, actually, if they had an IGL-like Groove that is talking constantly through every step of what is happening, but Nafany is clearly not that guy.
Well, we spoke about this actually last one we did, right? We spoke about the difference between like the in-game leader who does obviously most of the spawn calling stuff, and then the importance of like different voices. And we were identifying that like Shiro and Hobbit are like those mid-round voices over there for Cloud9. So, like, let's say that we remove this Nafany piece of the puzzle, right? As you're saying, well, we still have the contributions of Hobbit and Shiro. Yes. So between the two of those, right, you should have the two men required here to get your outer spawn calling and your mid-round calling. Could we just get a player that's not an in-game leader to be the fifth for Cloud9?
Well, yeah,
and Hobbit in-game leads. Maybe not Shiro, right? Or Hobbit or Shiro.
Did you hear
whatever.
what I said? I said, that Shiro does most of the talking mid-round. What if he becomes? Would you put him as the in-game leader and just get a player? Or Hobbit, but...
Vice versa. I think either way is potential here, right?
Would that work for you?
But then who would you get? I think you have your options are almost unlimited at that point.
Yes.
The talent. It doesn't matter who they get as long as there's a talented
just need an aggressive
player.
rifler.
Yeah, and they're not hard to find at all.
Especially in the CIS region.
Right? Everybody loves to be an aggressive rifler.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about your Kinder?
Wow.
No, I'm not gonna
I think that would be a pretty good fit, actually, just because
he
just signed with Liquid, so it's just so unlikely. But I think that also, like, I think they need a bit of clashing philosophies right now, because the way that they've been playing has been proven to be inconsistent. I think when we talk about Cloud9 and how their peaks look, it's because the fundamentals in mid rounds are fantastic when they're like 3v3, they need to like put something together. It looks Astralis-esque, Prime Astralis-esque, that is. But then the starters sometimes fall so flat. Like Axile will just die because he's jiggling into an angle. They don't do proper nade setup to take space away. The reason Exertion popped off in that last game that Maus had is because they mollied him out of cave one time.
Yeah, I saw you guys tweeting about this.
Half.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? They just let him play there, and sometimes they were trying to like push him through smoke or throwing a crappy flash into the smoke, and it was like, this is sad to watch because you're losing this round within 30 seconds every time. Like, change it up. Throw a molly, like use normal map control procedures, and you guys will win. You guys will do better. You get closer to the bomb site at least.
Yeah, and I think that if they went that route, they have so many options that they could pick for this player to fit into. And like you're talking about wanting to bring in somebody who can disrupt that, but maybe that's like a coaching factor as well, right? Because I think Groove,
it is.
But they have Groove and Finn at the moment. But to have another voice come in or whatever, I don't think that like you're gonna have what do Cloud9 have for the rest of the year? Nothing?
I don't know if they have anything.
I can have a look. Because we don't have anything for the rest of the year. I know Spirit don't have anything for the rest of the year. There's a lot of teams who aren't a Blast partner team and are not playing these 2 end events, right? Or haven't qualified however, to get into that World Final event, right? So there's a lot of names who have a time to rebuild or at least look at what they're doing and try and address it. So this is the perfect time. You got 2 months between now and Katowice, right?
Yeah. Well, 3 almost. Like
yeah,
two,
two and a half.
Two and change.
2.5, yeah. So, and let's say you take off the half for holidays over Christmas. So you got 2, right? So now would be the time to try and make these moves.
Yeah, it would be because you have time to practice. And people were saying, and Hobbit was saying, this team will win. Just give us time. It's like most teams don't get 2 years.
It has been a long time.
That's crazy.
Well, you felt like the Dallas thing was going to propel them, and finally, and then in Cologne they lose to Astralis and Liquid, right? Like they're losing to bad teams.
Yeah.
It's not just that if you lost these tournaments to FaZe and Navi every time, right, and you get knocked out by them, then it's like, well, these are some of the world's best teams, and you have to be able to beat them eventually, but whatever, right? But you can't be losing to, then they lose to Liquid 2 times in Pro League in groups and in the playoffs, right? It's like, what's happening here? And if you look at Nafani and like the series losses in Cologne, and
it's like art-esque.
It's just that it's like just really, really bad stats. Like even with his, it's just.
Or I mean, like he's like playing like when the art has a bad series.
It's a massive liability.
Loses them the series.
It's a massive liability, right? Where you're just like, dude, because we always say, how are you not doing better with Shiro and Axel being top 5 rated players like this year? But also their rating, especially Exiles, if he's not playing fucking FaZe in the playoffs, like it's not as great. So
there's lots of injuring factors with this team. I don't know. I just think there could be in that discussion of that one piece being the change to get them over that next step.
As do I.
Huh? Yeah. Hey, come on now. I don't know. I don't know who it should be. I don't even know if it will be anybody at the end of the day. That's the thing. They seem, especially if what you're saying with Hobbit, they might just stay as is. They might just stay as is and keep going.
I hope not. I really hope this has to be the loss that gets them to change a player. Like if this is not it, then I don't know what it is that they are thinking about doing or wanting to do or whatever. But to talk about.
I mean, they're going to look back at this year and think we were a top 5 team the entire year, and we only have a single Dallas trophy, which most people are considering as like, a tier 1.5 tournament.
Fair enough.
So
that's a fair.
And the way they fell apart at so many different events, like everybody remembers the Imperial loss.
Oh yeah,
at Antwerp.
Oh yeah.
That is just the biggest indictment on their resume this year for sure to me. Like the other ones, like. I don't give them much slack, but it's not like a top 5 team.
They used to be a team that would at least make the playoffs, right? Then they didn't do that at Cologne even, right? Like as we said, like lost to Astralis and Liquid. So that's why I didn't have any faith in them for this bracket. I said like there's higher chance of them losing to Maus than making like the grand final, on that side of the bracket. But
and I think what's kind of weird about the way some people might frame them or think about them as a team is like. It is like the style. I think the reason they're inconsistent is the style is inconsistent. Like having that little setup to get into a round is just proven that it puts too much pressure on individuals. That's why at Dallas, when Axile has a life tournament, they look like the best team ever. Yeah. But it is just actually basically him fragging everybody at the end of the day.
Do we want to keep talking about the results of the playoffs, or because right now we haven't been kicked out yet. He said they're going to call, and I'll see. We've been going for 1 hour and 46 minutes.
Kicked out? Why?
Well, that's what I was explaining to the guy, because I said, hey, I called early in the morning. I got the late checkout. They said da-da-da. I said, can I pay for half a day? They said yes. And then it's been lost in translation somewhere. Hopefully it's fine.
Hopefully they didn't kick into my room and steal all my shit because I did the same thing as you, and I'm in your room, not in mine. But yeah, just touch maybe just a little bit on Navi, I guess, right? And what do you think they're going to do?
I think
as Divide goes, there hasn't been signs of confidence from the Navi camp that he was long term. It's always some this fucking vague terms, vague talks, and I think it just looks like it's a tough position for a player to be in.
Very hard, yes.
Right, and I don't think he really managed to handle himself in that sort of a situation. I don't think he was terrible, but I don't think he gave Navi confidence enough in him that they were going to keep him.
But here's the thing. He's done in this team what's been needed of him, right? So he wasn't but if we step back, what piece do we think Navi needs?
Like an Axile. person. I mean,
So
if you just put him 1 for 1, the
is
spots
that?
would
But
be
is that
sick.
because of Bit not performing as he used to?
Well, Bit's performing badly because they're just not focusing on him as much anymore. They're not giving him game plans, I don't think, anymore.
But that in itself is still an issue, right? So like, but if you had like, do they need, because we already know Electronic and Simple are the ones you would traditionally turn to, right, to be going in for making these plays, right? Perfecto not so much. We know that Bit likes to look for fights too.
Perfecto
But
had a great tournament though.
would it be something like, okay, if they could get their hands on a Patsy, right? Like I'm just using, or would we be looking for, hey,
or a chopper. I'm not even kidding.
to in-game lead and then enable Electronic
to
again?
be a player again.
Yeah, but and that's that. But
He wouldn't leave for Cloud9, but he would probably leave for Navi.
Everyone in all of Eastern Europe would leave for Navi.
Okay, so like, what about Siren? Really impressed me with his aim this event. Like
Siren's like a better version of SDY, actually. Yeah.
So like, if they wanted to just plug and play and they could get Siren,
Actually, he's like more like small side anchor than big side anchor, but it's like it's similar in role. It's similar.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
They're anchors.
It's more overlap
They
with
can do better than
Perfecto.
Siren,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So would it be, again, like we were just talking with Cloud9, it could be anybody from anywhere, like, or are we thinking that there's somebody, because of Navi, you may as well take somebody or who's already somewhat proven, right? Bit wasn't proven.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you know what? Of any team that could just pluck somebody out that knows, it probably is Navi. You know,
Yeah.
they put Bit on the map.
But like, you're not going to get someone from your academy team. None of those guys have really stood out. Like Headtrix had a couple of opportunities, right? But
I don't think Bit necessarily stood out either, though.
no. Well, he played. Yeah, that's true. You're right. You are
They
right.
might, I mean, so they would know better than us on.
Yeah, they just
those
designed
5.
what player they wanted. But I think they will change. I think they will change SDY.
Yeah. I don't think he was ever the pick.
Yeah.
Actually, he's just satisfactory.
Which sucks, because if he was able to come here and they could go all the way and win the major, then maybe they would have kept him. Like, I think coming into this, there was that conversation, right? That level of pressure on not just his performance, but obviously that overall team's performance. If they were able to go all the way, then maybe he survives. Maybe he doesn't.
I mean, SDY, like the whole way he carried himself, even with this team, is like his lips are half pursed every time he talks. Anyway, he's like, I do not want to say anything that is going to get anybody upset. I will play like no one should get upset at
And
me.
you could tell he was
He looked stressed.
In the game against Furia, he's like constantly they're coming like A with smokes or whatever. He's just dropping the defensive smoke and like playing around, and it's just like, man, this just feels like so like it feels like he's just doing what he's been told, kind of.
Yeah.
But even him, and it's like you can't be doing it like that all the time. And he knows he should do a different play, but he's just doing what he's told. I don't know. It just feels off.
When you have basically 2 mega shitters on your team and you're playing Mirage, what you tell them both to do is, hey, one of you jump spot B, the other jump spot toll booth. And then like that's basically what SDY would do.
Yeah.
You know, he'll just do the most beta thing possible.
Yeah.
Never showed any balls in any of the games really. Except for the first tournament actually. He looked better at the spring finals.
And they won that.
And they won. And yeah, he actually looked better. And then it's almost like his balls slowly shriveled more and more as he was on Navi for longer and longer.
wonder
He
why.
aged 40 years, like 3 months. But
Yeah.
I mean, to pivot to Furia, because you said we're going on. So
No, look, I'm as long as they're not kicking us out, I don't give a fuck. I'm just that's all. I was just letting you guys know the time. I don't know. You boys are leaving at the same time as me, right? 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Shut up. We already
Yeah,
discussed
we're
it.
Dude, I want this to go
Same
as long as possible so I don't have to just sit around.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a burger after this, though. So
Yeah.
okay,
I could eat
then
before I
forget.
I
go.
want to
what
go to the
said.
gym.
I thought about that, but that's like
Well, you got 4 hours.
that's true. I don't know. Well, back to the CS.
Yeah. Steam room sauna would be nice, but yeah.
So yeah, Simple also
See,
had an
now he's talking
uncharacteristically
about
poor series against Furia. He was the worst rated player.
Who
for
did,
that.
sorry?
Simple.
Yeah.
I think he obviously said that he could have played better and he had some missed opportunities and that they weren't playing like with confidence, right? Probably overwhelmed a little bit by the crowd, by the noise. I'm not so sure. But yeah, for Furia, what an amazing win, right? And I think a lot of people thought that was going to be it. But unfortunately, I like this event also because there was so much talk and pomp around the crowd and the crazy atmosphere and everything. And in the end, the Counter-Strike decided, it was on the server stuff that decided who made the final, who won the tournament, which is like pretty cool. I feel like, for me, I like it that it ended up being that way. And I just hate the fact that Furia made it this deep because they're going to keep Heart now and they're not going to change anything for more months. And I will be fair and say they've looked more tempered this tournament. Like they've been less crazy as a team compared to some of the previous tournaments. But you said it. Art was 1-10 on Ancient in opening duels, and he was like 3-7 by the end of Nuke as well. And he was coming into the tournament with like coming into the game with like 48% success rate while taking 30% of opening fights. Like that's insanely high.
Yeah.
And Furia had like 4v5 coming into the Navi game of over 50% win rate, right? So there was a lot of things that were happening that couldn't have just kept on happening.
They have always been,
except for Caserato fucking being a beast.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Oh man, he had an exceptional tournament.
But that's what I'm saying. Tell me, riddle me this, Mao. It's like,
well, Nafany and Art are like the same person from two different regions.
Yeah, and they're like holding two amazing players back.
They're holding them hostage.
They're holding them hostage because Caserato is hostage to Art and Gary. If he's like on the same page with that shit, get him out. Right, like I mean, whatever.
No, I mean,
even though he's a great guy, likable guy, but I mean, if you talk about that stuff,
see, they both have systems that are so stylistically in my eyes. I think they have two of the most unique systems out there, Cloud9 and Furia. But it's just that maybe there's a reason people don't play like them. That's it's just been shown that that's not
people
really,
like to win.
Yeah, that's just not the way to do it. I mean, Navi got the closest to innovating, I think, with a T side lately, but like. It's still just I don't know, Furia, I can't really get behind the team because I just know there's such an obvious ceiling to them.
But isn't it harder with Furia for us to like try and pinpoint people in the region to who they could replace him with if they were going to replace him? Because I'm all to have that conversation, but then who?
It feels like there's a superstar team to be made in Brazil if you could kind of move some pieces around.
Make it right now.
Fuck, I hate
it. I mean, with the
I'm like not super. I haven't been paying, obviously like Duma is one of the names, but listen, those 0-0 Nation guys and like, like they really choked this tournament, right? And they played like in the Stockholm Major a year ago, like Duma and Lato. So it's like how much more time or leeway you want to give these guys before?
I would give them. I think the Brazil crowd thing was like really tough on them. Like I think that's kind of a different environment than what's going to come, whatever next thing they play. And they made it actually through the Cologne play-in, by the way, and they made it they made it to Cologne, and they were actually one round away from getting Liquid out of that tournament.
Yeah.
So I think they can be decent. That 0-0 Nation
well,
team.
The thing is, they're missing an in-game leader.
They're missing an AWPer.
Well, they're missing Cold Zero, 0-0 Nation.
Who's the best AWPer in Brazil?
Oh, that. Oh, okay.
No, they're missing two key pieces. Who's the best AWPer in Brazil?
Safe isn't.
Exactly.
Well, Safe is forced to rifle on this team. Safe.
Well, because of the way they play.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's old. He came in old.
NQZ is pretty good. He's pretty talented, but he's too young, so I can't call him the best. He's green, but that's the problem for Furia. Like, also, you don't want to get someone like him and then have to wait a year or two for him to really get into
and Yuri are in their
they're
primes.
In their prime.
Yeah. It's not in Brazil, but Try is just the best in the South America region.
Yeah, and maybe that works.
Speak Portuguese.
Maybe that works. But
he's on a Brazilian team right now.
It's hard. It's like he's not a superstar AWPer to join those two riflers.
I don't think Safe's the problem though. I don't think he's necessarily.
I don't know
the
if you get like someone like but you can't get him like but even someone like Taco, someone who can just like lead that team, call normally, like prep well for games, and like that's it, and just let your players like do their own thing and win you games, right? Because they're really fucking good.
Taco kind of had some bad IGLing at this one. I don't think people care about 0-0 that much, but he started like overcalling. I think there was just too many weird mid rounds. It's like, hey, take this space, then take this space, then go back to the space we took earlier. It's like you got to hit a side eventually, dude.
While 0-0 Nation's in the conversation, what do you got? Because I know that I asked last night. I was hanging out with Harry and stuff, and I asked them what they thought the best series or one of the best series for them was during the Challenger or the Legend stage. They said the IHC 0-0 Nation game. They really liked that one. It was the one that had a lot of overtime.
Yeah, that one was really unique because they, 0-0 Nation came back twice from down 12-3, and they lost both times once it hit overtime. So it was like this. It was double fake comeback back to back,
and baited the crowd.
Yes.
So yeah, that's probably why Harry and Hugo liked that one a lot. What else was a good one from the Challenger? The FaZe losing to Bad News Eagles, like that from a storyline perspective. That was like in terms of the game of Counter-Strike or whatever.
Yeah. The server and stuff in the server was not good.
No, but like in terms of like the storyline and the heartbreak of all of that, that was a curious one.
I like OG Vitality a lot.
Okay.
Vitality barely beating OG to get to Legends.
Yeah.
And Zaibu had that scout round.
From Car,
and
right?
the Mag is legal round on B in the second half.
Yeah, there were a few great highlights in that one, and I think it was just a really tight game.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah, we did have a lot of good games. Like, I think the Challenger and the Legend Stage delivered better games than what the playoffs did, right?
It was stacked with great games.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of them. I mean, I got to look back at the bracket, though. But I remember just getting out of my seat frequently.
What was the best overall game? I think it was probably the Na'Vi Furia game.
I would tend to agree there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard, but it's got to be one of the top ones for me.
I can't really think of an instant competitor to that one. For narrative's sake,
There were a couple of Cloud9 comebacks that were fun.
Yeah.
Cloud9 Imperial, like, for that reason, was kind of, and obviously the narrative behind the Imperial guys.
Yeah. It's like, it's one of these things where, I said it before, but we've obviously very blessed with the last two majors and how it ended up with Cologne. We were very blessed. Even with Katowice at the start of the year, that was a fun final too.
Yeah, Cologne was like we sacrificed the playoffs for the perfect final.
the best grand final ever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what beats that one.
Yeah, that was wild. I think like even the G2 versus FaZe final at the start of the year, because I had all the stand-in situation with JKS in and out, and then the type of Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
like,
that was great.
Yeah,
highlights.
Rob
Shroud.
Yeah. I even like some of the lines in them. Matt had a really good casting line with like the Monacy onto the B side. When he
Shepherd.
Yeah, that's the one. That was really fun because like I know the year's not over yet. I know we still have like the Copenhagen event, which is going to deliver another massive arena event, and those fans are going to be there. No, wait, hold up. Did Astralis make it to the...
No, it's Heroic. Heroic beat them in the last game.
So this is cool. I hope that they turn out for Heroic, right? Because before, when Astralis and Heroic were both in the arena, Heroic were the villains, right? There was a subsection of fans for them. But we know that crowd...
they're going to love them now that they made the major grand final, right?
Yeah, so that's great. That's really good for them going forward. That's exciting.
Oh, C9 Imperial again actually was good.
Yeah.
That was the 0-2 game.
Yeah.
And both ones went to overtime, and C9 had to come back and bow.
Yeah, right.
I can't believe how
Right.
close they were to losing
Again.
0-3 in challengers.
Imagine
Like,
losing to
how
Imperial again.
unbelievable is that?
At least then they would have fucking cut nothing.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah. I was praying. I was praying. Oh.
Yeah, no, you're bang on. If they lost that game again, Imperial 2, they would have definitely imploded as a team. There is no way they would have. There's no way like that. There's no way you just chalk it up to, oh yeah, we just lost to the hometown team. Like, no, come on, guys. Like, that's fucking ridiculous.
Losing to them twice in 2 consecutive majors for basically a team of just guys on a retirement tour. That is just so fun.
Well, they got Chalo now. You know, they're trying. It's interesting. Fallen saying he's going to play for one more year.
He said, didn't he say something like...
He was really vague
He's
about
vague,
everything.
yeah.
Like,
Okay.
maybe I play, maybe I don't play. I made some commitments, but maybe I don't feel like playing, but maybe I'll play.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see.
That's it.
He just gets to do. Well, I guess that's the thing. Once you're him, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I guess. So,
True.
Yeah. At this point, and if they come through and they offer some fun games and stuff, then yeah, they're still getting that entertainment factor there for everybody playing at home. I'm trying to think if there was anything else at the top of my agenda. There was something I wanted to talk about.
Yes.
I want to talk about the M4A1S.
Yeah, go. Let's do it.
So, are we all like? I look at all these guns and I have a standpoint and I sit back and I go the different points we're at in Counter-Strike over the years. Those are our different metas, right? Like in a MOBA, they change the characters, right? In Valorant, for example, you can change the characters, which will change the way that the game plays. In Counter-Strike, you can change the maps, you can change the guns. Maybe you can change the movement, but the movement's great. I don't know why we'd be fucking touching that. But when we had the AUG and the Krieg meta, Valve went, we're going to reduce the price of this for you motherfuckers because you've never used it before. And it's the same gun, and now you're going to use it, and it's going to be great. And then we're in that meta, and people hated it, right? We're in the M4A1S meta right now, where I think the 2900 is great, so we get more and more gun rounds, right, for the CTs to buy, but the weapon itself is overpowered in the way that it can be used with smoke spamming, etc., the traces, right? I feel like there's a sentiment that a lot of people think after this event, at some point, whether it's a week's time or it's a couple of months' time, that maybe the M4A1S will get an adjustment because the M4A4 is getting hardly any use, right? We only saw the OG players, really, a couple of them using the M4A4. Otherwise, not a whole lot. So we got to think about this from a lot of different factors, right? The whole thing, at least how as I understand it, is they want people to have choice, right? When we go into these games, we need to have choice, right, of what decisions you're going to make, right? And is what M4 are you going to pick? What pistol are you going to pick? Then in the game, how are you going to use these weapons? How does that correlate with your play style? So how would you guys nerf or adjust the M4A1S on its isolated factor? And then maybe we can go a bit broader and we can talk about maybe you'd buff another gun to try and make up for how you nerfed that gun.
What I'll say first off is that the way I would not nerf it is I would not raise the price.
Oh, leave the price point.
If you only raise the price, what will happen is people will just save more.
Yes, and we don't want that.
That's not what the fix is for this situation. It's not that we think the CT win rate is too high in isolation. We think the way that they're winning the rounds is bad, I think, right? I don't...
Yeah, getting the fact you're able to spam through the smoke and get a kill without being responded
with 3
to.
body shots, by the way, right?
Isn't it 4?
Or four body shots, whatever. Yeah, my bad.
I think it's 5
it's
for
4.
A4,
You're right.
yeah.
It is 4. It is 4.
But regardless, like that's still really OP because you can't do anything, which means you can't play behind smokes essentially in certain areas of the map. And even if you do, you cannot respond accordingly.
The meta of Banana is so dumb now. It's just like literally just keep bringing smokes over and keep spamming through the smoke, and they can't be anywhere anymore because you're basically just laying down hellfire with your invisible bullets.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. What you could do is increase the recoil, right? So it's not as easy to spray long range. Like that's the problem. Like it's, you know, not as a laser as it was way back when.
I loved it then.
Right? Like, but it's still relatively easy for these pros, especially to control the spraying over long ranges, just be able to, you know, like you see nuke and then it's just people spamming through the wall of smoke. How many people we see now from credit card like just spam the smokes all the way to T and like get kills like very often. That's just kind of fucking demoralizing. You know, if you're T, it's like there's nothing really you can do to punish them for it, right? So either make the spraying more difficult so it's less efficient.
I like your angle. How does this sound, right? Because you're talking about the range of it, right? What if at ranges like that the damage fall off was more? So we just said it was 4 bullets to the body to get the kill. Let's say at that range or ranges similar to that, it became 5, right? So let's say a top silo fight down to secret, right, is going to take 5 bullets to the body to get the kill. Obviously, still the headshot is going to play in. Maybe the headshot factor changes as well with the damage fall off. I don't know how.
No, the headshot and any
2 bullets.
Any other 2 bullets.
But to the body, that range,
wherever,
the spam.
Okay. Toe is dead.
So let's say there was more damage fall off, right, at those type of ranges. So you were incentivized at that point if you were playing long range maps like Overpass or Dust 2 to have the A4, right, because you're going to be taking more long range fights, right? Whereas the A1S maybe is the better rifle choice for close range maps like Vertigo or Light Nuke or what's another close range? Inferno, right? So that's where you would go for the A1S, but then you would still have to make that choice for more long range maps to go for the A4 to take the more favorable fights at range. Is that like a consideration that is landing on either of your ears as a reasonable one? Because if we want both M4s to have a place, that's a good decision that players have to make.
But I see it differently. I feel like the A1S should be more of a long range weapon, right? Like let's say you play positions like you are Yard and you take those like long range fights, like it should be kind of precise, right? Like maybe the first the I don't know exactly. The point is like with the M4A4, it's close range because it has more bullets, right? And it shoots faster. It's for stopping Russians. They're having those like, you know, crazy fights, like close range fights.
Yeah,
like,
that's how I view it too.
But the problem is, A4 is good at certain things, not so good at others. And A1S is like you can use it in every scenario and it can be useful, right? And then you have the no tracers, right, because it's silenced, and then the no sound. And also if you look at the arena games, you know, in games where there's, you know, crowd noise, right, then also that also adds to it, because with all the chaos you can't even
identify where the fight's going from.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Dinko suggested that every 4th bullet that you fire in the A1S, there's a tracer. So you're getting clues, you're getting breadcrumbs.
What is it in the normal ones? It's not.
I thought it already is like 1 every 3.
With the silenced M4.
With a normal gun.
I'm not certain.
It's not every. It's definitely not.
It's not every bullet.
It's like 1 every 3 or.
I think every 3 sounds about right.
Okay, well if it's 1 every 3, then let's say you made it 1 every 5.
Then they would just 4-shot burst. I don't think that. I think that's easy to play around actually.
Okay, well yeah, that's true. So this is the thing. So there's like some good ways to try and remedy this, but this is what we're trying to solve right now.
I think this is crazy. I'm just going to bounce it off you guys. I haven't thought this one through entirely. But if you, let's say you actually lower the move speed of a person with the silence M4, and then if you actually take off the silencer, your move speed would go back to normal.
Now we're getting crazy. But the crazy idea is tends to
add the steam pack.
So you want to move slower with the silenced M4.
Yeah, just a little bit, because it's too easy to just do these little hit and runs where you just peek around a corner spray through a.
That's a delicate balance right there.
It wouldn't be used at all if you did
It's
that.
a delicate
just
balance
like,
at that point.
but like just 10 move speed, not like.
Yeah, whatever
you're not
a
a
small
Negev.
metric is.
Yeah,
that would be curious. I think that seems hard to balance. What you're saying there seems hard to balance.
Yeah, they usually just go with fire rate, and they usually just go with damage values.
Or price point, right?
True. But I'm avoiding that one. For
this, But and I agree with you. But what if we lived in a world where let's say we adjusted the price point, right? If both of the M4s were the same price as the M4A4 is right now, would everybody still buy the A1S?
Yeah.
Okay. So then something else has to change on the A1S, right? If we leave the price point, we have to kind of still try and bring it in line. Now, because I was thinking, the FAMAS, it doesn't get a lot of play, and I know we saw obviously Fame with that double kill and whatnot, but if we removed the long range advantage of the A1S, regardless of what you said about that's the way you see it, but let's just live in my world for a second. We remove the long range advantage of that and make it so it's more of a close range M4. Like that's what it's designed for. We all agree with that in my stupid world. Then the FAMAS, what if we buffed the burst fire so that the 3 bullets were actually like a laser beam, and then that could be the substitute to use at long ranges if you didn't have cash and you wanted to have the long range fights?
I mean, dude, I think everyone's been saying it for bring the burst back. Like burst in 1.6 on FAMAS was like fucking great. Like FAMAS was much better, and I think for FAMAS and the Galil are two guns that haven't been touched except for the price. The price was lowered, right? But I think for Valve, probably something they can look at, right, and try to make these guns a little bit more.
I think the Galil has a place. Like I think the Galil, right, because you basically have a budget M4.
Yeah, Galil is really fitting in the meta right now. I mean,
you don't love it?
No, I hate the Galil.
Well, it's definitely not an M4.
But that's what's at a budget M4, right? Like, look,
it's its own thing.
What would you prefer in the totem pole here? It's AK number 1.
Yeah.
But some people can even try and make the argument of A1S. Then it's A1S. Then it's going to be the Galil before the FAMAS. I'm not including the M4A4. It's not in meta at the moment. But the Galil and the FAMAS are, right? They get used.
I think the Galil's more popular than the FAMAS.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But is that because...
That's because you just get an MP9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to get people to have more use on the FAMAS, I think that needs an adjustment. I don't know if the Galil needs an adjustment, and the AK is also cheaper than both M4s.
I don't think the FAMAS needs an adjustment.
Okay.
I mean, it definitely does. It's just what it is. I think unless you really do something wonky with the MP9, people are just going to prefer that probably forever. Obviously we saw that case in the grand finals where they had 2 on Outsiders, but that just felt like such a rare instance that it served its purpose there, but people just want to have MP9 with nades.
All right. Well, we're going to have the guy in the YouTube comments here, YNk, when this one eventually gets on the YouTube comments saying the Valve devs don't care. And
well, the A1S does need a nerf. Like,
for sure.
With no doubt.
For sure.
In my mind.
And we also need new maps or a new map. So we need both of those things to happen before the major next year, and now would be a good time to drop that. The Source 2 conversation is drying up. I haven't heard a whole lot about it. I haven't heard anything more. I haven't heard any more rumors.
People turn their excitement to hating on a Brazilian crowd.
There you go.
Yeah, that just became the topic of choice.
So maybe we can spark back up the Source 2 conversation. I don't know.
The Valve devs were here. They said the word 2 a few times.
Yeah, that did come out of the
number
mouth.
2 was said. Yeah.
Whether it was about the number or the word, either way, it was said. And there was Anyway, look, I
can't talk about documents I've signed. Before talking to them.
NDAs, right? We all had to sign a couple of those.
You can't even say that word.
The friendias. Sorry. Yeah. The friendias. This is the fun thing. It's great to bait people at home. That's why on broadcast when we talk, Source 2 coming out on the 26th of November, right? Like you fucking say stupid stuff. People like, they're going to believe it. It's like, we got no fucking idea. We got no clue at all. I don't know what the fuck's happening.
That's what you want them to think.
I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah.
I'm just along for the ride. All right, boys. We got anything else we really want to get stuck into here? How are we feeling?
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too.
I'm getting hungry.
It's starting to creep in. Should we go get some food?
Yeah.
Love that.
All right, let's go get some food. All right, I'm going to turn this off. I'll upload it and away we go. Thank you for your time, Maui.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Maui.
Yeah.
This was fun.
You filled in for Jason. You fucking smashed it. We love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Peace.
Seems all I do is fill in for Jason.